The hum of the office was typical for a Wednesday morning at Tesla headquarters. Employees hurried in and out of meeting rooms, their faces a mix of focus and quiet frustration. Outside, the sun barely broke through the fog over Palo Alto, the golden light filtering in through the sleek, glass walls. It was business as usual. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? But in the midst of it all, something extraordinary was happening. Elon Musk, the very figurehead behind the electric revolution, stood in the hallway, unrecognizable to the world. He wasn't dressed in his usual tailored suit or black hoodie, the uniform of the Silicon Valley elite. Today, Elon wore a simple blue Tesla polo shirt, the kind anyone could buy at the company store. His face was free of the public persona he'd carefully curated over the years. No sharp jawline accents or calculated smirks. Instead, he wore a pair of thick-rimmed glasses and kept his head slightly bowed, hoping to avoid detection. To anyone who might glance his way, he was just another mid-level engineer, moving through the halls with the same purpose as everyone else. But for Elon, today was far from ordinary. He wasn't just a CEO trying to keep the empire running. No, today, he was something else entirely. An anonymous worker, trying to walk a mile in the shoes of the very people who built his company. He was going undercover. The reason? He needed to understand the Tesla workforce, what they were really feeling, what struggles they faced day in and day out. The boardroom was one thing, but the ground level, the people on the factory floor, the engineers in the back rooms, they were where the truth of Tesla's future lay. Elon had made plenty of big decisions, but now, he wanted to know if he'd really been in touch with the heart of the company. His footsteps echoed softly against the polished concrete floor as he moved down the corridor, passing clusters of workers talking in huddled groups, some laughing nervously at a joke only they understood, others lost in the monotony of their tasks. None of them spared him a second glance. But then, just as Elon was about to round the corner toward the break room, something caught his attention. Two voices. One sounded agitated, the other curious. "Man, I'm telling you, it's all going downhill," the first voice said, tinged with bitterness. It was a younger voice, likely from someone who'd been with Tesla for only a couple of years. The other voice, slightly older, responded with a tone of quiet optimism. "You think so? I don't know, man. Tesla's been through tough spots before. Hell, we've all seen some crazy stuff. But Musk's a genius. You don't just get this far by being an idiot." Elon froze. He hadn't been expecting this. They were talking about him. No, talking about Tesla. His company. Their company. A company that had changed the world, one electric vehicle at a time. But now, in this moment, he heard something different. Something he hadn't anticipated. "I dunno," the first voice said. "We're just cogs in the machine, man. Musk doesn't even know what it's like to work here anymore. He's so far removed from us. What does he know about how hard it is to make this thing run?" Elon's pulse quickened. The words stung more than he expected. It was true in a way. He had become so distant from the day-to-day realities of his own company. His life had become a whirlwind of public appearances, media scrutiny, and boardroom decisions. And yet, here were two young men, expressing frustration he hadn't realized existed. He took a deep breath. It wasn't anger he felt, but something sharper, regret. The gap between him and the people who believed in Tesla, the people who made Tesla happen, was wider than he'd imagined. He slowly turned to walk away, unsure of what he should do next. But just before he could step out of earshot, the conversation shifted. "You think we're the only ones who feel that way?" the second voice asked. "There's a lot of people around here that are worried. They say the board's talking about cutbacks if profits dip any lower. Do you think Musk even cares?" There it was again. Cutbacks, profits, worry. These weren't just whispers of disgruntled employees. This was real fear. Fear that Tesla, the visionary company that had reshaped an entire industry, was on the verge of losing its spark. And Elon had to wonder, was it his fault? Had his focus on the grandiose, colonizing Mars, revolutionizing AI, and creating self-driving cars, blinded him to the growing issues at home? He couldn't ignore this. It was no longer a theoretital problem he could solve with a PowerPoint presentation. This was the truth, raw and real, from the mouths of the very people who worked tirelessly to turn his dreams into reality. Elon stood still for a moment, feeling the weight of their words press down on him. He realized that to truly understand what was happening at Tesla, he would need to do more than just listen. He needed to walk in their shoes, to see the world through their eyes, experience their struggles, and maybe even make a difference before it was too late. And maybe, just maybe, find out if the spark that had ignited Tesla was still alive. With a deep breath, Elon straightened up, turned on his heel, and began to walk in the opposite direction. He wasn't sure what he was going to do next, but he knew one thing for certain. This wasn't just a normal day at Tesla. It was the beginning of something far bigger, a journey that would redefine not only Tesla's future, but his own. Elon had always been a man of many identities: the genius innovator, the visionary billionaire, the eccentric CEO. But today, he was just another employee in the maze of Tesla's sprawling headquarters. The polo shirt clung to his body, a small reminder that he wasn't who people thought he was. No fancy jackets or headlines, no entourage or luxury cars, just him, walking quietly through the halls like anyone else. But the quiet wasn't easy. The weight of his decision felt heavier with every step he took. He had come here for answers, to understand the core of his company and reconnect with the people who made it what it was. But as the doors to the break room slid open, he realized just how much he had lost touch with the human side of Tesla. He sat down at a small table, trying to blend in, hoping nobody would recognize him. There were a few engineers scattered around the room, their faces buried in their phones or laptops, avoiding conversation as if the morning coffee was all that mattered. Elon watched them, his mind racing. He wasn't just a CEO trying to make a point. He was a man trying to recover something he had lost: connection. The old Elon would have been standing at the head of the room, making grand speeches, talking about the future of humanity. But today, that man wasn't here. Today, there was only the man who wanted to hear what others had to say, to experience what it was like to be on the other side of the table. It didn't take long before he caught the attention of Sarah, a senior engineer who had worked at Tesla for nearly 8 years. She had heard of the rumors of a new guy among the engineers, someone with big ideas about culture and employee engagement. She sat across from him, curiosity lighting up her brown eyes. "You're new here, right?" she asked, studying him carefully, her voice calm but with an edge of caution. Elon smiled beneath the mask of his disguise. The familiarity of Tesla's culture, even in its more informal settings, was comforting. "That's right. Just got transferred from the autopilot team," Elon said, his voice sounding more like a rehearsed line than the truth. He knew this wasn't just about fitting in. He had to talk like one of them, act like one of them. He had to get them to believe he belonged. Sarah raised an eyebrow, but didn't push the matter further. "Well, welcome aboard. I hope you like it here." She leaned back, her hands wrapping around her coffee cup, her expression a mixture of professionalism and fatigue. It wasn't the first time she had welcomed a new face. In fact, she had seen plenty of new recruits come and go. But there was something different about this one, something in his eyes that made her hesitate. "Thanks. I'll try to fit in," Elon said, trying his best to sound like someone who was just another part of the machine. It wasn't long before Sarah started opening up, talking about her work on the new battery technologies Tesla was developing. She spoke with the passion of someone who truly believed in the mission, but also with the weariness of someone who had seen too many hurdles and too many broken promises. "I don't know if you've heard," she said, her voice quieting as she leaned in slightly, "but things are kind of tense around here. There's a lot of pressure on us. It's not just about the cars anymore. It's about hitting numbers, keeping investors happy. Sometimes, it feels like we're just moving from one crisis to the next." Elon listened carefully, trying to understand her unspoken frustrations. For all of Tesla's high-profile successes, autonomous driving, breakthroughs in sustainable energy, he hadn't realized how much pressure there was behind the scenes. The company had grown so quickly, and yet, it seemed as though no one was truly enjoying the ride anymore. There was an anxiety, an undercurrent of fear that something might collapse at any moment. "I know what you mean," Elon said, allowing himself to respond with a quiet sincerity. It's easy to get caught up in the big vision, the grand plans. But sometimes we forget that the people here, you, are the ones who make it all happen. Sarah raised an eyebrow again, clearly surprised. You sound like you've been around longer than a few days. She chuckled softly, but there was no humor behind it. Elon smiled faintly, but the truth was, he had been around longer. In fact, he had been leading this company for more than a decade, guiding its trajectory with the ambition of reshaping the world. But somewhere along the way, he'd lost sight of the people who made it all possible. He nodded. I know. Sometimes I think that's part of the problem. Everyone's so focused on the next big thing that we forget about the people who actually do the work. Sarah's eyes softened slightly, but there was still a guardedness there. We're all doing our best. But it's hard when you feel like nobody really understands how tough things are. You know? We're always expected to go above and beyond. But it gets exhausting. There it was. The raw truth that had been simmering beneath the surface. The exhaustion. The lack of recognition. It was clear to Elon now that the company wasn't just facing external challenges. The internal culture was fraying at the edges. The employees, who had once rallied behind the Tesla mission with passion and energy, were now running on fumes. Elon's mind raced. He had wanted to understand the heartbeat of Tesla, and now he was starting to see it clearly. He couldn't keep running the company the way he had been. There was a disconnect between his vision and the reality on the ground. I get it, Elon said quietly, more to himself than to Sarah, and that's what I'm here to change. Sarah looked at him, her skepticism still present, but tempered with curiosity. Change, she echoed. How do you plan on doing that? Elon paused. He wasn't sure himself yet, but in that moment, something clicked. This wasn't just about making better cars or designing faster rockets. It was about rebuilding trust, restoring the energy that Tesla had once radiated. He wasn't sure how, but he knew it had to start now. The silence between them lingered for a moment before Sarah broke it with a half smile. Well, if you can pull that off, I'll be the first to thank you. But, good luck with that. Elon chuckled softly, the first genuine laugh he had had since he arrived. Maybe this wasn't going to be easy, but then again, nothing worth doing ever was. And for the first time in a long while, Elon Musk felt like he had a purpose again. The next few days blended into one another. Elon continued his undercover journey through Tesla's headquarters, sticking to his low-profile persona. His days were filled with conversations, meetings, and quiet observations. He had already learned more about Tesla's internal struggles in those first few days than he had in years of boardroom reports and shareholder meetings. But no matter how much he learned, no matter how much he tried to blend in and act like a regular employee, there was one thing he couldn't escape: the overwhelming sense of tension in the air. It was like an electric charge, just waiting to snap. One afternoon, as Elon was walking down the hallway to meet a small team of engineers in the R&D department, he overheard another conversation that made him stop in his tracks. I heard Musk's in trouble with the board, a woman's voice said, her tone harsh and full of bitterness. They're talking about selling off parts of the company if the numbers don't turn around. It's like they've forgotten what we're really building here. Elon paused, his heart skipping a beat. Musk's in trouble with the board? It was his own name being thrown around, but the context was completely different from what he was used to hearing. The Elon Musk that the world knew, rich, powerful, untouchable, was a far cry from the person being whispered about behind closed doors. Yeah, and don't even get me started on the production delays, another voice chimed in. We've been stuck on the same bottleneck for months now. It's like we're running in circles while they keep pumping out promises they can't keep. Hell, the new Cybertruck? They're saying we won't see it until next year. Do they even know how badly that's hurting our reputation? The conversation stung more than Elon had expected. It wasn't just the criticism of the company or his decisions. It was the realization that, once again, the people behind Tesla's success were feeling overlooked, even betrayed. It wasn't just a few disgruntled employees. This was a growing sentiment that could spread like wildfire if left unchecked. He took a deep breath and turned toward the voices, walking slowly down the corridor until he saw the two engineers sitting near the entrance of a conference room. One of them, a tall, young man with short cropped hair, looked up and did a double take when he saw Elon approaching. "Hey, you're the new guy, right?" he said with a nod. But there was no warmth in his words, just a sense of detached curiosity. Elon gave a small smile, trying to keep things casual. "Yeah, I'm the new guy. Just trying to learn the ropes." The woman beside him eyed him skeptically, but Elon didn't flinch. He had to keep playing the role, even as the conversation hit a nerve. "So, what's going on with the production delays?" he asked, keeping his voice steady. He could feel the tension in the air, like everyone was walking on eggshells. The young man leaned back in his chair, sighing. "You tell me," he muttered. "We're supposed to be pushing these vehicles out faster than anyone else, right? But the reality is, we can't even keep up with our own expectations. And you think Musk doesn't know?" Elon asked, lowering his voice. The woman shook her head. "He's so caught up with his other projects, SpaceX, Neuralink. It feels like Tesla's just another checkbox for him. At least, that's how it looks from here. There's no clear direction anymore. People are frustrated. I mean, how can we be the leaders in electric cars when we can't even deliver on time?" The words hit like a slap to the face. Elon had always prided himself on pushing the limits, on making the impossible happen. But here they were, his own people, questioning his leadership and vision. And they weren't wrong. Before he could respond, a door opened behind them, and a tall man in a suit walked by. The conversation abruptly stopped, and the engineers quickly turned back to their laptops, pretending as if nothing had happened. Elon stayed still, processing what he had just heard. He didn't know what hurt more: the fact that his employees felt disconnected from the mission, or the realization that he had been so blinded by ambition that he hadn't seen these issues brewing. The cracks in the foundation were growing wider, and he couldn't afford to ignore them any longer. Later that afternoon, as Elon walked through the parking lot, heading back to his temporary workspace, he overheard a conversation between two employees near the electric car charging stations. They were standing beside a Model 3, laughing lightly at something one of them had said. But when the laughter died down, the conversation shifted. "So, what do you think of the new guy?" the taller one asked. His voice had an almost conspiratorial edge to it. The other man shrugged. "I don't know. He's a bit strange, don't you think? Doesn't really talk much, just nods along. Yeah, but he seems smart. Like, he's got some ideas. Who knows, maybe he'll actually listen for once." Elon froze, half hidden behind one of the charging stations. Listen, it was a word that echoed in his mind. He had always considered himself a visionary, someone with the answers. But in this moment, the true realization hit him. He had been so focused on the grand scale of innovation, on moving quickly and changing the world, that he had forgotten one of the most fundamental aspects of leadership: listening. For the first time, the weight of his decisions felt heavier. It wasn't just the board, the stock prices, or the production delays. It was the people who had followed him all these years. It was the employees who believed in Tesla's mission and were now questioning whether the company they worked for even had a future. He needed to make a change, and that change had to start with him. But how? What could he do to rebuild trust, not just with his employees, but with himself? The more he thought about it, the clearer the answer became. It was time to step up, not as the CEO who made high-level decisions, but as the leader who could connect with the people at Tesla's core, who could rebuild the foundation one conversation at a time. The journey ahead wasn't going to be easy, but Elon knew one thing for certain. If Tesla was going to survive and thrive, it had to start from within. Elon's days in the trenches continued, and with each passing hour, he grew more and more aware of the growing distance between the people he had once inspired and the company he had built. It wasn't just the frustration or the fatigue. It was something deeper, a sense of disillusionment, like the spark that once fueled Tesla's innovation was slowly fizzling out. And the more Elon tried to blend in, the more he realized just how much he had lost touch with the very people who made Tesla a household name. One afternoon, after a long series of meetings and overhearing more murmurs of dissatisfaction in the break room, Elon found himself standing at the far end of the factory floor. The hum of machinery filled the air, a constant, mechanical rhythm that mirrored the heartbeat of the entire operation. He watched workers assembling the latest model, their faces a mix of focus and weariness. He had seen these same faces countless times from the top of the pyramid, but today they seemed distant, like ghosts in a machine he no longer recognized. He wandered down the aisle, trying not to attract attention. His disguise was starting to feel like more of a burden than a shield. Each glance, each whispered word felt like a reminder that he was Elon Musk, not some faceless worker trying to get by. His mind drifted back to the conversation he'd overheard earlier that week. The words of Sarah, the senior engineer, still echoing in his ears. "We're just cogs in the machine, man. Musk doesn't even know what it's like to work here anymore." He couldn't shake those words, no matter how much he tried to push them away. The problem wasn't just the board or production delays. It was a crisis of culture, a disconnect that had been brewing for years. And it was now at the tipping point. Later that afternoon, as Elon sat in his temporary cubicle, staring at his screen, the sound of footsteps approaching snapped him out of his thoughts. He looked up to see Sarah standing in the doorway. Her face was unreadable, but there was something about her presence that made Elon's heart skip a beat. "I need to talk to you," she said, her tone firm, though not unkind. Elon motioned to the empty chair across from him. "Of course, sit down." Sarah didn't sit immediately. Instead, she crossed her arms and stood silently for a moment, as though weighing her next words. Finally, she spoke, her voice low but clear. "Look, I know who you are," she said, her eyes locked on his. "I don't know what you're trying to do here, or why you're pretending to be someone you're not, but I can't stand by and watch this company fall apart anymore. We're all feeling it. The tension, the confusion. It's not just about numbers or products anymore. It's about culture, about whether we even have a reason to keep coming in every day. You've lost sight of that. And if you don't fix it soon, you're going to lose everything." Elon didn't flinch. He'd expected something like this, but hearing it out loud hit harder than he anticipated. Sarah was right. He had become so focused on the future, on Mars, on artificial intelligence, that he had allowed the heart of Tesla to slip away. "I know," Elon said quietly, leaning forward in his chair. "I've made mistakes. I've been disconnected, and I've let things get out of hand. But I'm here now, trying to understand. I need your help. I need your honesty." Sarah's eyes softened just slightly. "I don't think it's just about your help anymore. You've been so busy building the next big thing that you've ignored what's right in front of you. The people who are actually making this all happen. If you want to change things, you've got to listen." Elon sat back in his chair, taking a deep breath. She was right. The past few days, as much as they had opened his eyes, hadn't been enough. He needed more. He needed to truly engage. "I'm listening now," he said, his voice steady. "But what do you think I should do? How do I fix this?" Sarah hesitated, then slowly sat down across from him. "It starts with trust," she said, her voice softening a little. "The people here, we don't trust the leadership anymore. Not just you, but the board, the investors, everyone. You've all been so focused on growth and scaling that you forgot the most important part, building a team." A silence fell between them as Elon processed her words. Trust. It seemed like such a simple concept, but it had been shattered in so many small, quiet ways over the years. Trust that the mission was still the mission. Trust that Tesla's leaders had their best interests in mind. Trust that they weren't just a line item on a spreadsheet. "Okay," Elon said after a moment. "Let's fix that. Together." Sarah gave him a wary but hopeful glance. "I hope you mean that." The next day, Elon called an all-hands meeting. The company-wide emails went out, and within hours, the employees gathered in the large auditorium, murmuring amongst themselves. The air was thick with speculation. Why was Elon calling this meeting? Was it about the board, the delays, or something else entirely? When the meeting finally began, Elon stood on the stage, facing a sea of faces, familiar and unfamiliar, hopeful and wary. He had prepared for this moment, but now that he was standing in front of them, the words felt heavier than he expected. "Thank you all for coming," Elon began, his voice steady but with a hint of emotion. "I know things have been difficult. I've heard your concerns, loud and clear, and I know that I've let you down. As the leader of this company, I should have been listening to you. I should have been more present. But I've made mistakes, and I'm here to own up to them. He paused, scanning the room. He could see the skepticism in their eyes. They had heard empty promises before. But that changes now, Elon continued, his voice gaining strength. Tesla isn't just about cars or rockets. It's about people, you. You are the heart of this company, and I've neglected that. But from this point forward, I'm committed to listening, to hearing you, to rebuilding trust and making sure that every single one of you feels like you're a part of something bigger than yourself. I promise you, this is just the beginning. The room was silent for a moment. Elon held his breath, wondering if this was enough. Then, slowly, a few hands began to rise. And then more. Questions, concerns, ideas. It was a start. A small one, but a start nonetheless. Elon left the meeting feeling both exhausted and invigorated. He had taken the first step, acknowledging the problems, accepting responsibility, and showing that he was ready to lead in a new way. But the road ahead was long, and he knew it wasn't going to be easy. But for the first time in years, Elon felt like he was exactly where he needed to be, at the center of Tesla, with his eyes wide open, ready to rebuild what had been broken. The days following the all-hands meeting felt like a whirlwind. Elon's promise to rebuild trust wasn't met with immediate cheers and applause. There was skepticism, even resentment, and he knew that regaining the faith of his employees wouldn't be quick or easy. But as the days wore on, something subtle began to change. The conversations in the hallways seemed different, less whispered gossip, more open discussions. The ice was starting to crack. Elon spent the next few weeks engaging with teams across Tesla. He wasn't just popping into meetings to make appearances. He was diving into the details, asking questions, and truly listening. He visited the factory floor more than he had in years, talking to engineers, assembly workers, and support staff. He made himself available for informal chats, lunch breaks, and even impromptu brainstorming sessions. It wasn't enough to just show up. It was about showing that he genuinely cared. At first, it was awkward. People weren't used to seeing Elon Musk, the icon, standing beside them with a notepad, taking notes, and asking about their day-to-day challenges. He was often met with silence, guarded responses, or the occasional side-eye. Some of the engineers, especially, weren't sure what to make of his sudden interest. They had been burned before by promises of change that never came to fruition. But Elon kept showing up, day after day. He made himself vulnerable in a way that surprised even him. Instead of being the boss with all the answers, he became the listener, the learner. Slowly, people started to open up, to trust him again. The first signs of change were small. A conversation with a factory worker about a malfunctioning assembly line tool, a suggestion from a design team about improving car interiors, a joke exchanged in the break room. One afternoon, as Elon walked through the engineering wing, Sarah approached him, a folder in her hand. She had a serious look on her face, but her expression wasn't as hard as it had been during their earlier conversation. She looked like she had something important to say. "Got a minute?" she asked, her voice tinged with curiosity, but also with something else, perhaps a hint of hope. "Of course," Elon replied, gesturing toward an empty conference room. They stepped inside, and Sarah sat down across from him, laying the folder on the table. "This is a proposal for improving our production timelines," she began, her eyes meeting his directly. "We've been running into delays because of the way we're handling certain components. The systems we have in place just aren't scalable anymore, especially with the demand for the new models. But this," she tapped the folder with her fingers, "this could streamline things significantly. We're proposing a more integrated supply chain approach, and it would cut our production time by a good 20%. We've crunched the numbers, and it's feasible." Elon leaned forward, intrigued. "Why haven't we implemented this already?" Sarah hesitated, but the frustration in her voice was palpable. "Because no one's really listened to us. There's a disconnect between the engineers on the ground and the decision-makers upstairs. We've been proposing this for months, but, well, you know how it goes. We make suggestions, but no one takes them seriously." Elon's heart sank as he processed her words. The engineers had been begging for this change for months, and yet, it had never made it past the internal bottlenecks. How many opportunities had Tesla missed because no one had been paying attention? "Well, I'm listening now," Elon said, his voice firm but sincere. I want this. I'll make sure it gets the attention it deserves. For the first time in a long while, Sarah allowed herself to relax. I'm glad to hear you say that, she said, offering a slight smile. I think this could be the kind of thing that changes the way we work here, if we can get the resources to back it up. Elon stood up, already thinking about the next steps. Let's get a meeting with the right people. This needs to happen. Now. The following week, Elon brought the proposal to the board. It wasn't a decision he would normally have made on his own. Usually, such matters were handled by the department heads. But this time, he knew he had to take a more hands-on approach. The project had to be greenlit, and quickly. The boardroom was filled with the usual suits, a few of them with weary expressions from the constant pressure of stockholder expectations. Elon's pitch was straightforward. He didn't talk about grand ambitions or futuristic technologies. He didn't mention Mars or artificial intelligence. This time, he focused on people, the engineers who had poured their expertise into the proposal, the workers who had been struggling with inefficient systems, and the fact that Tesla couldn't afford to keep missing opportunities because of internal misalignment. For the first time in a long while, the board listened. No one interrupted. No one tried to redirect the conversation to bottom-line profits or short-term stock gains. They listened, and they understood. The decision to fund the new supply chain initiative was approved within the hour. As Elon walked out of the boardroom, he couldn't help but feel a sense of victory. It wasn't the type of victory that made headlines or turned into a new product launch. It was quieter, more personal. It was the kind of victory that made him feel like he was finally moving in the right direction. Not just for the company, but for the people who had built it. The changes began to take effect almost immediately. Production times improved, and the efficiency of the factory floor increased. It wasn't a silver bullet. It didn't erase all the challenges, but it was a step forward. People started to feel like their voices mattered again. They started to feel like they were part of something bigger than the endless cycle of corporate pressures. Elon didn't stop there. He continued his one-on-one meetings with employees, listening to their concerns, their ideas, and their frustrations. He didn't always have the answers, but the simple act of being present made a world of difference. And slowly but surely, Tesla's culture began to heal. Sarah was one of the first to notice the change. One afternoon, as she walked through the engineering department, she saw Elon standing in the middle of a group of engineers, discussing a new feature for the Model S. It wasn't the usual top-down approach. It wasn't Elon giving orders. It was a true collaboration, a partnership. As she watched from the doorway, she couldn't help but smile. Maybe, just maybe, things were starting to turn around. As the weeks passed, the momentum began to shift. What had started as a small spark of change in the way Elon interacted with his employees was slowly growing into a full-scale rebuilding process. Each day brought new challenges, but with each challenge came an opportunity to rebuild trust and confidence in Tesla's mission. It wasn't just about production or sales figures anymore. It was about the people. It was about restoring the soul of the company. Elon knew it was still early days, but he could feel the difference. The energy in the office was palpable, and while it wasn't yet the unrelenting optimism that Tesla had once been known for, it was something more grounded, a cautious optimism, the kind that came with hard work, honesty, and slow but steady progress. One afternoon, as Elon walked into his temporary workspace, his assistant handed him a note with a brief but urgent message. Sarah wants to meet, immediately. Elon raised an eyebrow. Sarah? He hadn't seen her in the last couple of days, and he was curious what had prompted her request. He grabbed his coffee and headed to her office. As he entered, he found Sarah standing by the window, staring out at the sprawling Tesla campus. Her expression was serious, but there was an edge of excitement in her eyes. Everything okay? Elon asked as he took a seat across from her. Sarah turned to him, her gaze sharp but with a trace of hope in it. I think we might have a real opportunity here. We've been talking to the manufacturing team, and we're seeing real improvements. The supply chain overhaul is working better than we expected. But there's more we can do, way more. If we want to really scale, if we want to get ahead of the competition, we need to be thinking bigger. We need to get ahead of the curve, not just react to the market. Elon leaned forward, intrigued. What are you suggesting? Sarah took a deep breath, as though preparing to make a bold proposal. We've been focused on fixing the small things. But what if we set our sights on something bigger, like an entirely new platform? Something scalable, something that can launch multiple new models in a year, not just one. We've already made the electric car a household name. Now, what if we could take Tesla into new markets, new industries? Elon was silent for a moment, digesting her words. You're talking about a new platform, a new way of manufacturing, something completely different? Exactly, Sarah said. Think about it. We've already got the EV technology, but what if we could create a platform that would make everything from electric trucks to autonomous shuttles to even electric delivery drones? We could be the ones shaping the future of mobility on a global scale, not just competing with other car manufacturers. Elon's mind raced. The idea was audacious, even by Tesla's standards. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized how much potential it held. A universal platform could not only revolutionize Tesla's production capabilities, but it could also create a new wave of possibilities in autonomous technology, logistics, and even space exploration. It was the kind of bold, ambitious thinking Tesla was known for, but it also came with huge risks. I like it, Elon said finally, a grin creeping onto his face. Let's do it. The following week, Elon gathered a team of engineers, designers, and strategic planners to discuss Sarah's idea. The room was filled with energy, and the discussion quickly turned from cautious skepticism to excited brainstorming. Elon was surprised by how quickly the team latched onto the concept. It wasn't just the allure of building something bigger than any single vehicle. It was the chance to create something that could change entire industries. As the meeting wrapped up, Elon stood at the front of the room, feeling the weight of the task ahead. This is going to be a challenge, he said, his voice steady. But if we're going to move the needle on the future of transportation, we can't be afraid of big ideas. We need to think about this as the next generation of Tesla, not just the next car. And I need everyone here to give it everything you've got. The room buzzed with energy as the team dispersed, each person eager to take on the monumental task ahead. For the first time in months, Elon felt a sense of purpose that wasn't just about fighting fires or patching leaks. It was about creating something new, something revolutionary. Over the next few months, the team worked tirelessly on the new platform. It wasn't easy, and there were plenty of setbacks. Early prototypes didn't meet expectations. The integration of autonomous systems and AI was more complex than anyone had imagined. The engineers often found themselves in heated discussions about design choices, resource allocation, and scalability. The pressure was immense. But amidst all the chaos, something remarkable happened. They started working together in a way that Elon hadn't seen in years. It wasn't just about Elon's vision anymore. It was a collective effort. The engineers, the designers, the project managers, they were all bought into the idea, invested in the challenge. There was a renewed sense of camaraderie, and it wasn't just because of the promise of new technology or the thrill of the unknown. It was because, for the first time in a long time, Tesla had a mission that everyone could believe in, something bigger than just electric vehicles. One evening, a few weeks into the development phase, Elon found himself walking through the factory floor again. It was late, but the lights were still on, and the sound of machines hummed in the background as employees continued working. He stopped by one of the assembly lines and watched as a worker carefully installed a component into a Model 3. The concentration on the worker's face, the precision with which they moved, it reminded Elon of why he had started Tesla in the first place. He wasn't here to just change the car industry. He was here to change the world. And as he looked around at the faces of his team, the passion in their eyes, he knew that this new platform, the bold idea Sarah had suggested, wasn't just another project. It was the future. But there was still a long road ahead. Elon understood that. This wasn't a quick fix. It wasn't a shiny new car that would be unveiled at the next big event. It was a transformation, and it would take time, effort, and a level of commitment that Tesla hadn't seen in years. The road would be difficult, but for the first time in a long while, Elon felt confident in the team he had built. They had weathered the storm. They had confronted the deep-rooted issues head-on. And now, together, they were ready to build something that would truly change the world. As the team plunged into the intense work of building the new platform, the challenges began to multiply. What had once been a grand vision for the future of Tesla slowly started to reveal its many hurdles. The more they dug into the complexities of the new project, the more apparent it became that scaling the idea, transforming it from blueprint to reality, would take more than just passion and ideas. It would require sacrifice, risk, and perhaps most importantly, unwavering faith in their mission. Elon sat in a dimly lit conference room late one night, staring at the holographic renderings of the new platform that filled the table before him. Engineers, product leads, and AI specialists stood around him, all immersed in their own thoughts and calculations. Everyone was on edge, and the atmosphere felt tense. Are we really sure this is the right direction? One of the lead engineers, Greg, asked, breaking the silence. The current platform, as it stands, is good enough to handle the immediate future. But this is huge. We're talking about a complete overhaul of everything we've done so far. The complexity, the cost, we're talking about years of development just to get to the first functional prototype. Elon raised an eyebrow. And you think we should just wait and let others take the lead? Or keep doing what we've always done? Greg shifted uncomfortably but met Elon's gaze. I'm saying that we might be biting off more than we can chew. Tesla's stock is still volatile. There are bigger players in the market now, companies like Rivian and Lucid, not to mention legacy automakers like Ford and GM, all pushing for their own electric revolution. We need to stay competitive. Elon's face was impassive, but inside, he could feel the familiar fire ignite. He had heard this before, from naysayers, from doubters, from those who had warned him about the risks. But this time, it felt different. This wasn't just about keeping Tesla afloat. It was about the future of transportation. If we're not willing to take risks, then we might as well give up now, Elon replied, his voice calm but firm. We've always been the ones to take bold leaps. That's what made Tesla different. And that's what will keep us ahead of the curve. The room fell silent again, and everyone turned their gaze toward Elon. There was a moment of tension. Then Greg gave a slight nod, reluctantly agreeing. You're right, he said quietly. I guess I just didn't realize how big this was. We can't afford to think small anymore, Elon replied. This is our chance to redefine the future. We don't just need to compete, we need to lead. Over the next few weeks, the project gained momentum, but not without its share of setbacks. The new platform was proving difficult to engineer, especially when it came to the integration of autonomous systems. The ambitious plan to create a modular platform that could support everything from electric cars to autonomous delivery vehicles and drones was causing serious strain on the team. Prototypes were continually delayed, and the cost overruns started to pile up. One evening, as Elon walked through the development center, he overheard a conversation that made him stop in his tracks. I don't know how much longer we can keep this up, one of the engineers said to another. The deadlines are slipping, and the pressure from the board is relentless. If we don't deliver something soon, we're going to lose everything. Elon's heart sank as he listened. The weight of the project was starting to take its toll. People were burned out, stressed, and unsure if the vision was even possible. And that wasn't just about the tech. It was about the culture that had begun to erode under the pressure. He walked into the room, and the engineers quickly fell silent. There was a nervousness in the air that he hadn't seen in months. Elon knew they needed leadership now more than ever, but the question was, could he give them the reassurance they were looking for? Listen, Elon said, his voice steady. I know this is tough. I know the pressure is high. But if we want to change the world, it's not going to happen overnight. I need you all to trust in this project, trust in yourselves. We've faced impossible odds before, and we've always come out on top. This is no different. One of the engineers, a young woman named Zoe, spoke up. I want to believe that. But right now, it's hard to see how we can make this work. The timeline's just too tight. Elon nodded, acknowledging her frustration. I get it. But let's not lose sight of the bigger picture. Tesla wasn't built on easy wins. Every breakthrough, every success, came because we were willing to do the hard things. We were willing to take risks, to put everything on the line. And I'm asking you to keep that spirit alive. We are not going to stop until we change the world. And I'll be right here with you, every step of the way. There was a long silence, and then one of the engineers, a veteran of Tesla's early days, finally spoke. You've got us. Let's finish this thing. Elon smiled. It wasn't a victory, but it was enough to get them moving forward. For the first time in a while, Elon felt like the team had truly reconnected. They might be stretched thin, the pressure might be mounting, but they still believed in the mission. By the end of the month, Tesla was facing a crossroads. The project was behind schedule, and the company was bleeding cash. The stock price had dipped, and rumors of Elon's distraction had begun to circulate. The pressure from the board was mounting, and the idea of shelving the new platform, at least for the time being, was becoming more and more appealing to some of the executives. One evening, as Elon sat in his office, the door to his office opened, and in walked one of the board members, Peter, a longtime ally. He had a serious look on his face, and Elon knew what was coming. "We need to talk," Peter said, sitting down without waiting for an invitation. "I know," Elon replied, leaning back in his chair. "You're thinking about pulling the plug on the platform, aren't you?" Peter didn't deny it. "Elon, the company's at a critical point. We can't keep pushing forward without results. The investors are getting anxious. You know how this works. We need a return on investment, and we need it soon." "I understand the pressure," Elon said, his voice calm but firm. "But we're not going to sacrifice the future just to satisfy short-term expectations. This platform, this is what will define Tesla for decades to come. If we stop now, we risk losing everything. I'm asking for a little more faith." Peter's gaze softened, but his resolve didn't waver. "We've supported you through a lot of wild ideas, Elon. But you have to understand, this is different. We need something tangible." "And you will get something tangible," Elon said, standing up from his chair. "But it's going to take time. We're on the cusp of something world-changing, and I need your trust. Just a little longer." Peter studied Elon for a moment, then sighed. "All right, but this better work. I'm giving you one more quarter. After that, we'll reassess." Elon nodded, a quiet determination in his eyes. "It will work. I won't let you down." As Peter left the room, Elon sat in the silence, reflecting on how much was riding on this. The stakes had never been higher, personally, professionally, and financially. He couldn't afford to fail, not now. But there was a fire burning inside him, a fire that wouldn't be extinguished. The world had doubted him before. It was nothing new. But this time, he was determined to prove that faith in Tesla wasn't misplaced. He stood up and walked over to the window, looking out at the sprawling Tesla campus. The challenge ahead was daunting, but Elon Musk wasn't a man who shied away from impossible odds. He had built Tesla from the ground up, and now he was going to take it to new heights. The days following the tense meeting with Peter and the board were some of the longest Elon had faced in years. The pressure was relentless. Every meeting felt like a battleground. Each passing day seemed to bring new obstacles, and it wasn't just the technology or the business side that was causing problems. It was the people. There was a growing divide between those who believed in Elon's vision and those who feared the cost of failure. In the halls of Tesla's headquarters, whispers of doubt had started to surface. Some engineers were questioning the viability of the new platform, and others were openly skeptical about whether Tesla had the resources to pull it off. Despite the external pressure, there was a momentary calm in Elon's mind. He had faced challenges before, bigger challenges even, but what weighed on him more than anything was the idea of losing the trust of his team. Tesla had never been a typical company. It was a place where people came because they believed in something bigger than a paycheck. It was a place where mission mattered more than margins. And if that spirit was lost, then Tesla would become just another car company. One afternoon, Elon found himself at the Tesla Gigafactory in Nevada. He had not planned on visiting, but after a string of bad news, delays, production bottlenecks, and a dip in stock prices, he felt the need to be closer to the action. He wanted to see the factory floor, talk to the workers, and remind them why they were all here. The factory was vast, stretching as far as the eye could see, filled with the hum of machinery and the hustle of hundreds of employees. It was still a work in progress, but it was impressive, a symbol of Tesla's ambition. Elon walked past assembly lines where the latest Model Y prototypes were being assembled. A few workers noticed him and waved. He waved back, but his thoughts were distant. As he passed a row of robotic arms assembling batteries, he spotted a familiar face, Jessica, one of the senior engineers who had been working tirelessly on the new platform. She was standing near a workstation, reviewing some technical diagrams, her brow furrowed in concentration. He approached her, and she looked up, surprised but pleased to see him. "Elon, what brings you here?" she asked, her voice slightly guarded. "I needed to see the factory for myself. I want to feel what's happening here." "Up close," Elon replied. He paused, sensing the unease in her demeanor. "How's the team holding up?" Jessica hesitated before answering. "Honestly, it's been tough. The new platform has caused some frustration. It's not just the tech. It's the pressure from higher-ups, the lack of resources, the constant roadblocks. It feels like the closer we get to a breakthrough, the more we hit a wall." Elon studied her face, recognizing the exhaustion in her eyes. "We're going to get through this," he said, his voice steady. "But I need you to keep pushing, all of you. I know it's tough, but we can't let go of the vision. This isn't just about making another car. It's about changing the world. Don't forget that." Jessica nodded, but there was still a glimmer of doubt in her eyes. She had always been one of Tesla's most dedicated engineers, but even she seemed worn down by the constant barrage of setbacks. Elon knew it wasn't just about technical problems anymore. It was about keeping the team together, keeping their faith in the mission alive. "I know," she said quietly, "but sometimes it feels like we're losing that. I just want to make sure we're not too late." "We're not late," Elon replied with conviction. "We're just getting started." Later that evening, as Elon sat in his office at the factory, he received a call from Sarah. The tone of her voice immediately caught his attention. "Elon, we need to talk," she said, her voice tense. "There's been a development with the platform." "What's happened?" Elon asked, sitting up straighter. "It's not good. The prototype we've been working on for the past few months, it's not coming together. The integration between the AI system and the new platform is failing. We're having issues with the neural network. It's not responding as we'd hoped." Elon felt a knot tighten in his stomach. This was the one area he had hoped would work without major issues. He had invested so much in autonomous systems. If this failed, it could mean disaster. "How bad is it?" Elon asked, trying to stay calm. "We're not sure yet. We need another couple of weeks to debug the system, but if we can't resolve this soon, we might have to rethink the entire design," Sarah explained. Elon closed his eyes for a moment, trying to process the gravity of the situation. "We can't afford to rethink everything," he muttered to himself, more than to Sarah. "I know," she replied, "but we have to make a decision. If we keep pushing forward with this tech and it fails, it could set us back by months, maybe even years." There was a long pause on the line. Elon could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He had always thrived on solving problems in real time, but this time it felt different. The pressure was mounting on all sides, and it was starting to feel like they were running out of time. "We'll fix it," he said, his voice resolute, though inside, doubt crept in. "We'll throw everything we've got at it. Keep me updated. Don't let anyone else know. We'll keep this in-house for now." Elon spent the next few days in the lab, diving into the problem himself. He knew he couldn't do it alone, but he had to show his team that he was fully invested, that he wasn't just giving orders from a distance. The engineers worked around the clock, trying to debug the AI system and integrate it into the new platform. The tech was complicated. The integration of autonomous systems required a seamless interaction between the AI, machine learning models, and the hardware. But there were glitches. The neural network wasn't learning the way they wanted it to. The models weren't adapting quickly enough to the changing conditions. Elon spent sleepless nights reviewing lines of code, discussing possible solutions with Sarah and the team, and pushing the boundaries of what they could achieve with the current tech. It felt like a race against time. Every minute lost was a minute closer to the moment when Tesla would have to make the hard decision to either scale back the project or risk everything by doubling down on an uncertain future. It was on the seventh night of these long, tense hours that Elon had a breakthrough. After hours of testing, tweaking, and rewriting code, he realized that the key to solving the problem wasn't about pushing the AI to perform faster or more efficiently. It was about trusting it to learn in its own time. He called Sarah into the lab to show her the progress. "Look," Elon said, pointing at the screen. The neural network had begun to stabilize. The AI was finally learning at the pace they needed it to. The connection between the platform's hardware and the software was starting to sync properly. It wasn't perfect yet, but it was a start. "We can fix this," Elon said, his voice filled with cautious optimism. "We just have to give it the time and resources it needs. We can't rush it." Sarah stood silently, her eyes scanning the data on the screen. A slow smile spread across her face. "You might be right. We might actually be able to pull this off." The next day, Elon gathered the team for a meeting. His mind was clearer now, and his sense of purpose had returned. The storm wasn't over, but they had weathered the worst of it. He addressed the group, his voice filled with renewed energy. "We've got a lot of work ahead of us, but I believe we can make this work," Elon said, his gaze sweeping over the room. "This platform, this vision, it's still possible. We're not out of the woods yet, but I know we can fix the problems and come out stronger than ever. We just need to keep pushing." The team looked at him, their faces filled with a mix of exhaustion and hope. For the first time in a long while, Elon could feel the energy shifting in the room. The belief was there. It wasn't just about the platform anymore. It was about the mission, and that mission was alive. The week that followed the breakthrough at the lab felt like a new beginning for Tesla. The AI system had started responding as hoped, and the new platform was slowly coming together. But with that fragile sense of progress came an undercurrent of uncertainty. They had clawed their way back from the brink, but the final test was still ahead. Would the platform actually work in the real world? Elon had always thrived on innovation, but he knew the true challenge wasn't just the technology, it was the people. Tesla's future rested on the faith and determination of the team, and with everything that had happened, their resolve was being tested. It wasn't just about pushing technology to the limits anymore. It was about pushing people to their limits, asking them to dig deeper and go further than ever before. One quiet morning, as Elon sat in his office reviewing reports, he was interrupted by a knock on the door. It was Sarah. "Elon, we need to talk," she said, her voice tight. She was holding a tablet, and the look on her face immediately told him that this wasn't going to be an easy conversation. "What's going on?" Elon asked, already sensing the gravity in the air. "It's the board. They're asking about the timeline again," Sarah said, her tone strained. "They're getting more impatient by the day. The delays are stacking up, and if we don't have something concrete to show them soon, we might be facing some tough decisions." Elon leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. He had anticipated this, but it didn't make it any easier to deal with. The board had always been a balancing act. On one hand, they were investors pushing for returns, and on the other, they had been allies in Tesla's mission. But now, the pressure was mounting. The last few months had been grueling, and the risk of failure loomed larger every day. "We'll figure something out," Elon said after a beat. "But we can't afford to compromise. Not now. Not after everything we've been through." "I know," Sarah replied. "But the question is, how much longer can we keep pushing the envelope before we break?" Elon could feel the weight of her words. He had always believed in taking risks, but there were moments when those risks came at a cost, one that he could no longer ignore. "I don't have an answer yet," Elon said, standing up from his desk, "but we'll keep moving forward. We've come too far to stop now." That afternoon, Elon met with the executive team in a tense strategy session. The mood was more somber than usual. The roadblocks were obvious: production delays, mounting pressure from the board, and, above all, the uncertainty of whether the new platform could be scaled successfully. "How are we doing on the prototype?" Peter, one of the board members, asked, his arms crossed. He had flown in from New York specifically for this meeting, his presence a clear indication of how serious the situation had become. "Progress is being made," Elon replied, his voice measured. "We've solved most of the issues with the AI integration, but there are still some challenges we're facing with the modular platform. It's a new approach, and it's going to take time." Peter raised an eyebrow. "Time? That's the one thing we don't have. We need results, Elon, and we need them now. If we don't have something substantial to show the market soon, we risk falling behind." Elon felt his chest tighten. He knew this was coming, but hearing it so bluntly stung. The weight of the responsibility on his shoulders had never felt so heavy. Yet, he knew there was no turning back now. "I understand," Elon said, his tone steady despite the pressure mounting within him. "But I'm asking for your trust. I'm asking for just a little more time to get this right. If we go public with something half-baked, it could set us back years. I won't let that happen." Peter glanced around the room at the other executives. A few of them looked as though they were ready to agree with Elon, while others appeared ready to push for a faster resolution. "Let's put it to a vote," Peter finally said. "We either double down and give Musk what he wants, or we pull back and reassess the direction. It's up to the team." There was a palpable silence as the room waited for a decision. Elon felt as though time had slowed, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The future of Tesla, perhaps even his own legacy, hung in the balance. After a long moment, Sarah spoke up, her voice calm but firm. "I vote for pushing forward," she said, looking directly at Elon. "We're closer than we've ever been. If we back out now, we'll be admitting defeat. And that's not who we are." A murmur of agreement spread through the room. One by one, the other executives began to voice their support. Peter, who had been the most vocal skeptic, reluctantly nodded in agreement. "All right," he said after a long pause. "But this is your last chance, Elon. We'll give you the time you need. But you need to deliver, or the board will take action." Later that evening, Elon stood on the rooftop of Tesla's headquarters, staring out at the vast skyline of the city. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the parking lot below. For a moment, the world felt distant, almost surreal. He had spent so many years chasing this dream, and now, it felt like it was all on the line. He had always known that building Tesla would be a battle. But this was a different kind of war. It wasn't just about changing the world with electric cars anymore. It was about a vision that had the potential to reshape every industry, every aspect of human life. And yet, here he was, standing alone, staring down the abyss, with nothing but faith in the team and the belief that he could make it happen. His thoughts were interrupted by a text from Sarah. "We're close. Another week of testing, and we'll know if this platform can scale. Stay strong." Elon stared at the message for a long moment. It was a small beacon of hope, but it was enough to remind him of why he had started this journey in the first place. He typed a quick reply, "Let's make history." The next morning, Elon returned to the lab. The engineers were hard at work, the hum of computers and the clatter of keyboards filling the room. Everyone was on edge, but there was an energy in the air, an energy he hadn't felt in weeks. "All right, team," Elon said as he stepped into the room, his voice filled with determination. "This is it. We're not stopping now. We've got 1 week. Let's show the world what we can do." The team nodded, their expressions focused, ready for the challenge ahead. Elon felt a surge of pride for the people who had stayed with him through thick and thin. Together, they had faced the impossible, and now, they were on the cusp of changing the world. As the engineers got back to work, Elon stood quietly in the corner, watching them. There was no doubt that the road ahead would be hard. But for the first time in a long while, he felt certain about one thing. Tesla wasn't just a company. It was a movement, and it would stop at nothing to reach its goal. The final week of testing had arrived, and with it, a sense of urgency that was almost palpable. Elon could feel the weight of every decision pressing down on him, the quiet hum of tension that ran through the halls of Tesla's headquarters. The engineers were working around the clock, their eyes bloodshot and focused, fingers flying across keyboards as they tweaked the code, recalibrated the AI models, and tested every component of the new platform. There was no room for error. Failure was not an option. Elon hadn't left the lab in days. He had been sleeping in his office, only occasionally catching a few hours of rest before diving back into the chaos. His mind raced with calculations, projections, and possible outcomes. He had been through countless crises before, but this felt different. This wasn't just about launching another product. It was about the future of Tesla, the vision he had worked so hard to build, and the people who had put their faith in him. It was late in the evening when Sarah entered the lab, her face grim. She had been overseeing the testing of the platform's autonomous capabilities, but her expression suggested that things weren't going as smoothly as hoped. "Elon, we need to talk," she said, her voice low and cautious. Elon looked up from his screen, his tired eyes narrowing. "What's wrong?" "It's the integration," Sarah replied. walking over to his desk. The AI is working, but it's still not perfect. The neural network is stable now, but it's not adapting as quickly as we need it to. There's a delay in the decision-making process. If we don't fix this soon, it could derail everything. Elon leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. The strain was becoming unbearable, but he refused to show weakness. How much time do we have left? A day. Maybe 2 at most, Sarah said. If we can't get it sorted by then, we'll be forced to scale back the platform's capabilities. That would set us back months, if not years. Elon's heart sank. He knew how critical this moment was. One more glitch, one more delay, and the platform wouldn't be ready in time to meet the board's expectations. He couldn't afford to fail. Not now. We're not scaling back, Elon said firmly. We'll fix it. We have one chance to get this right. I'll pull in every resource we need, every engineer, every line of code. No compromises. That night, Elon called a meeting with the entire engineering team. They gathered in a conference room under the harsh fluorescent lights, their faces drawn with exhaustion but also determination. He knew that their faith in him was hanging by a thread. If he failed them now, he would lose everything: his credibility, their trust, and the future of Tesla. I know you're all tired, Elon began, his voice steady but forceful. But we've been through worse, and we've always come out on top. This platform, this technology, it's bigger than any of us. It's going to change the world. But we can't do it unless we all pull together. The room was silent for a moment. Then, Jessica, the senior engineer who had been instrumental in the platform's development, spoke up. We're with you, Elon, she said, her voice unwavering. We've come too far to turn back now. If we have to push all-nighters for the next 2 days, we'll do it. We believe in the vision. Elon nodded, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. I believe in all of you. Let's fix this. The following 2 days were a blur of activity. Elon and the team worked tirelessly, rewriting algorithms, running tests, and brainstorming new solutions to the stubborn delays in the AI's decision-making process. There were moments of frustration, when a fix didn't work or a breakthrough turned out to be a false alarm. But Elon didn't give up. He kept pushing. He kept believing. And as the hours ticked by, something began to change. The neural network started to adapt more quickly, responding with increased accuracy. The platform was coming to life. It wasn't perfect yet, but it was close. And close was good enough for now. By the end of the second night, Elon felt a surge of hope that he hadn't felt in days. They were ready to present it to the board. The platform wasn't flawless, but it had reached a stage where it could be scaled and further refined in real-world conditions. It was a leap forward, a step into the future. The next morning, the board meeting was set for 10 a.m. Elon stood before the glass walls of the conference room, watching the city wake up below. It was a surreal feeling, knowing that everything was about to come to a head. His phone buzzed in his pocket. It was a text from Peter. We expect results, Elon. Don't disappoint us. Elon took a deep breath and put the phone away. He couldn't afford to think about the pressure now. He had a job to do, and the team was counting on him. The next few hours would determine the future of Tesla. As the board members filed into the conference room, Elon stood at the front, ready to present the results of the testing. The tension was thick in the air. Peter was the first to speak. Elon, we've seen the delays, and we've heard the excuses. Today, we need to see something substantial. Can you deliver? Elon glanced at the engineers seated behind him, each one silently nodding in support. They had done the work. Now, it was time to show the world what they had built. He turned to the large screen behind him and began the presentation. This is our new platform, he said, his voice steady. It's a modular, scalable system that can be adapted for a wide range of vehicles. The AI integration has been optimized for both performance and safety. And while it's still a work in progress, the foundation is here. He clicked a button, and the screen flashed with a detailed simulation of the platform's capabilities. The AI's decision-making process was smooth now, the system reacting in real time to a variety of scenarios, traffic, road conditions, and obstacles. It wasn't perfect, but it was remarkably close. Peter leaned forward, studying the presentation closely. The rest of the board watched in silence. Elon could feel their eyes on him, waiting for something to go wrong. But nothing did. We'll need to do more testing in real-world conditions, Elon continued. But I believe this platform is ready to scale. We have the technology, and we have the team to bring it to market. We just need your support. There was a long pause before Peter spoke again. This is impressive, Elon. But can it be scaled in time? We need to be able to deliver on the promises we've made to our investors and customers. Elon nodded. It can, and we will. For the first time in weeks, Elon allowed himself to exhale. The board was cautiously optimistic. They knew the risks, but they also understood the potential. The room was filled with muted murmurs of agreement as the team's hard work began to pay off. Elon had done it. He had brought them to the edge of success. As the meeting concluded, Peter turned to Elon, his expression more approving than it had been in days. You've delivered, Musk. But don't think for a second that the pressure's off. We're counting on you. Elon smiled, a mixture of relief and resolve in his eyes. I don't stop until the job is done. Later that evening, as Elon walked through the quiet halls of the Tesla campus, he reflected on everything that had led up to this moment. They were on the cusp of something truly revolutionary, but there was no room for complacency. The road ahead was still filled with challenges, production hurdles, public scrutiny, and the ever-present pressure from the board. But for the first time in what felt like forever, Elon felt a sense of accomplishment. The platform was real. It was working. And now, Tesla was ready to change the world. The days that followed the board meeting were a whirlwind of activity. Tesla's new platform was officially in play, but the real work had only just begun. While Elon felt a sense of pride at the breakthrough, he knew the future was far from guaranteed. Scaling the platform to meet Tesla's ambitious goals would require far more than just technical expertise. It would take a revolution in manufacturing, supply chains, and most importantly, the collective will of the company. The next step was moving from concept to production, and Elon was determined to make sure every detail was perfect. He couldn't afford to let his guard down, not when they were this close to changing the world. That morning, Elon stood before a room full of Tesla's senior engineers, the air thick with anticipation. The new platform had passed testing in simulation and in small-scale trials, but this was the real test. Could they make it work at scale? We've made incredible strides, Elon began, addressing the team with the calm authority that only someone who had weathered 1,000 storms could project. But now, it's time to move from theory to reality. Production begins now. We need to prepare for everything, from manufacturing to logistics, to handling the press and the public. This platform will define Tesla's future. It must be flawless. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The engineers nodded in agreement. They had heard this speech before, but there was something different in Elon's voice this time. The urgency was palpable, the stakes unmistakable. Tesla wasn't just building another product. They were building the future of transportation. Elon turned to Sarah, who had been by his side throughout the process. Her expression was focused, her brow furrowed in concentration as she reviewed notes on her tablet. He caught her eye and gave her a small nod. We have a full week to ensure everything is in place, she said, speaking up. I'll lead the team on refining the production process, but we'll need to expand the production line capacity. We're going to be scaling this up fast. Don't worry, Elon said with a smile. We've got the resources. Let's move fast, but let's also move smart. No one gets left behind. It was late in the evening when Elon sat alone in his office, reviewing the blueprints of the new production lines. The reality of the challenge ahead was starting to sink in. Scaling production meant not only creating new cars, but also creating a new way of building them. The new platform would require an entirely different approach to assembly lines, automation, and quality control. It wasn't just about cranking out more units. It was about setting a new standard for the entire industry. And then there were the regulatory hurdles. Autonomous driving wasn't just the future. It was an uncharted territory. While Elon had always been an advocate for innovation, the truth was that every step forward was accompanied by a wave of resistance. There would be pushback from governments, from competitors, from anyone who feared losing their dominance in the market. But Elon was used to that. He had always thrived on the challenges that others saw as insurmountable. He had faced doubts before, and he had crushed them. This time wouldn't be any different. The door to his office opened, and Sarah stepped in. She looked worn, but determined. "Elon, we've got an issue with the supply chain," she said, her voice tinged with frustration. "There's a delay in the new battery packs. We're running into issues with our suppliers, and if we don't fix this soon, we could miss our production targets." Elon looked up from the plans, his mind already working through possible solutions. "How long would a delay like this push us back?" "At least 2 weeks, maybe more," Sarah replied. "We need to either expedite the supply process or find an alternative solution." Elon stood up from his desk, walking over to the window. Outside, the city was alive with the sounds of traffic, the hustle and bustle of a world that hadn't yet caught up to the future he was trying to create. It was moments like this, when things didn't go as planned, that he could feel the weight of responsibility. But he'd been here before, and he knew there was always a way forward. "We don't have 2 weeks," Elon said quietly, his mind already racing through options. "Call in the team from logistics. Get them on the phone with the suppliers. If we can't get the parts in time, we'll find a new supplier who can deliver faster." "I'm not waiting." The next few days were a blur. Elon spent every waking hour coordinating with suppliers, fine-tuning production lines, and testing prototypes. It was a race against time, but this was the kind of challenge that fueled him. Every setback felt like a personal affront, and every victory, no matter how small, felt like a step closer to revolutionizing the world. By the end of the week, the supply chain issues were resolved. They had secured an alternate supplier for the batteries, and production was moving forward, albeit at a slightly slower pace than originally hoped. But there was still hope. As Elon walked through the production facility, inspecting the first batch of completed vehicles, he couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. This was it. This was what they had been building toward all along. The first car rolled off the assembly line, its sleek design gleaming under the factory lights. Elon stood in front of it, his hands clasped behind his back, watching the team celebrate. It was a moment of triumph, but he couldn't let himself get complacent. The world was watching. The pressure was on. Tesla had to deliver, on time, on budget, and with perfection. That afternoon, Elon received a call from Peter. "Elon, we've been hearing some buzz," Peter said, his voice tight with caution. "The stock market is starting to react to the news. People are excited, but there's also concern. If this doesn't go as planned, it could be catastrophic. Do you understand what's at stake here?" Elon could hear the weight in Peter's voice. "I get it, but we're on track. It's going to work." "I hope you're right," Peter said. "Just remember, you've made a lot of promises. Don't let them come back to haunt you." As the weeks passed, the pressure intensified. The media began to report on Tesla's progress, and the public's attention shifted into overdrive. People wanted answers. They wanted to know if the platform would truly live up to the hype. Every social media post, every news article, and every stock ticker movement felt like a test. But the team pressed on. Day after day, they worked tirelessly to refine the platform, to troubleshoot any remaining issues, and to perfect the production lines. The stakes had never been higher. One morning, just a month after production had begun, Tesla's new platform was unveiled to the public. The first batch of cars, equipped with the AI system and the cutting-edge modular design, rolled out to the media, industry leaders, and early customers. Elon stood on stage, flanked by his team, watching as the first vehicles were unveiled. The crowd erupted in applause, but Elon was focused. His eyes scanned the crowd, the bright flashes from cameras reflecting off the cars. This was a pivotal moment, one that would define the future of Tesla, and perhaps even the future of transportation itself. He smiled faintly, the weight of everything finally catching up to him. The hard work, the sacrifices, the sleepless nights, they had all led to this moment. "This is just the beginning," Elon said, stepping forward to address the crowd. "Tesla isn't just building cars. We're building a future, and we're only getting started." As the days rolled on, Elon found himself caught in a whirlwind of meetings, media appearances, and relentless pressure. Tesla's new platform had created a buzz like nothing else before it, and the world was waiting with bated breath for the next step. The vehicles had been unveiled to great fanfare, and early reviews were mixed. Some hailed the breakthrough in AI and modular design, while others remained skeptical about the platform's long-term reliability. The stock market was volatile, responding to every tweet, every report, and every little detail that emerged. Tesla had always been a company that played by its own rules, but now it felt like they were dancing on a razor's edge. One misstep could send everything crashing down. Elon was no stranger to pressure. In fact, he thrived on it. But lately, the weight of responsibility was starting to feel overwhelming. As the leader of Tesla, he knew that the company's success was tied to every decision, every move, every strategy. The platform was Tesla's future, but was it enough to keep them ahead of the competition? It was early in the morning when Sarah called. Her voice was urgent, but controlled, the kind of tone that instantly set alarms off in Elon's mind. "Elon, we've hit a snag," she said, barely taking a breath. "The AI is failing to process real-time data from the cars on the road. It's a small error, but it's happening more frequently. If we don't fix it now, it could compromise the entire rollout. We might have to halt production for a few days." Elon's mind raced. The last thing they needed was another setback. The clock was ticking, and the pressure from the board was mounting. If production slowed down again, the backlash would be catastrophic. It wasn't just a technical issue. It was a public relations nightmare waiting to happen. "How bad is it?" Elon asked, already pulling on his jacket and heading toward the door. "It's fixable," Sarah replied, "but it's going to take some work. We need to isolate the cause of the malfunction and tweak the machine learning algorithms to handle the real-world data more efficiently. It's a coding issue more than anything else, but it's time-sensitive." "I'll be there in 20 minutes, Elon said, hanging up the phone. His mind was already working on the solution. If anyone could fix it, it was Tesla's engineers. But there was no time to waste. Every minute that passed was a minute closer to a full-blown crisis. By the time Elon arrived at the lab, the team was already hard at work, hunched over their screens, trying to track down the error. The atmosphere was tense, but there was a quiet sense of determination in the air. This wasn't the first time they'd encountered a problem like this, and it wouldn't be the last. "Elon, we think we've found the issue," said Jessica, the senior engineer who had been leading the AI integration team. She looked up, her face etched with exhaustion but also hope. "The AI's neural network is struggling to handle the data influx from the external sensors. It's a bandwidth issue. The cars are processing more data than the system was designed to handle." Elon nodded, absorbing the information. "So, we need to optimize the neural network. Can we offload some of the data processing to the cloud?" "It could work, but the latency will still be an issue," Jessica replied. "We need to rewrite some of the algorithms to better prioritize critical data." Elon took a deep breath. They were close, but they needed a breakthrough. This wasn't just a technical issue, it was a race against time. If they couldn't fix the problem soon, the public would lose confidence and investors would pull out. "Let's do this," Elon said, clapping his hands together. "We have one shot at getting this right. We'll run parallel tests, optimize the algorithms, and push the data back to the cloud. We need to move fast, but we can't compromise on quality." The next few hours were a blur. Elon worked side by side with Jessica and the rest of the team, rewriting code, running tests, and brainstorming solutions. The lab was filled with the rhythmic hum of computers processing data, the flicker of monitors, and the occasional exhale of frustration. But despite the tension, Elon could feel something shifting. They were close. By the time they were ready for the next test, the sun had set, casting long shadows across the lab. Elon stood at the back of the room, watching as the team ran the simulation. The neural network was running smoother now, with less lag and better data processing. But the true test would be real-world conditions. Could the AI handle the unpredictability of the road? "We're ready," Sarah said, looking over at Elon with a weary smile. "Let's see if it works." Elon nodded. The next 30 minutes felt like an eternity as they watched the data stream in. The cars were processing data from real-time driving environments, traffic lights, pedestrians, road signs, and other vehicles. The AI system was responding faster, more intuitively. It was working. It was actually working. Elon couldn't help but let out a breath of relief. "It's good," Jessica said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We've done it." For the next few days, the team continued to refine the platform, but the worst of the crisis had passed. The AI was stable, and the cars were ready for full-scale testing on the road. Elon knew that this was only one victory in a long battle. There were still countless challenges ahead, but for the first time in a while, he felt like they were back on track. He spent the next few days on the road, visiting production facilities, meeting with investors, and talking to the press. The media's focus on Tesla was unrelenting, but Elon had grown accustomed to the constant scrutiny. The success of the platform had generated immense public interest, but it had also drawn skepticism from competitors and regulators alike. It was during a press conference in New York that Elon received a message from Peter. It was simple, but it sent a chill down his spine. "The board is getting nervous. We need results." Elon glanced up from his phone, his face unreadable. The pressure was back. The next few months would determine whether the new platform was a true success or just another failure. But he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't going to let Tesla fall short. The final push to launch was nothing short of grueling. The team worked late into the night, refining the cars, testing the algorithms, and ensuring that every last detail was in place. Elon was everywhere, at the design center, in the test facilities, and even at the board meetings. The tension between him and the board was becoming more pronounced. They were demanding faster results, but Elon knew that rushing things would only lead to mistakes. Tesla's reputation was on the line, and he couldn't afford to make another misstep. And then, finally, the day arrived. The first batch of vehicles equipped with the new platform was ready for delivery. The media buzz was louder than ever, and Tesla's stock price surged as anticipation reached a fever pitch. Elon stood at the podium, the weight of the world on his shoulders, as he addressed the crowd gathered for the launch. "We've built something new," he said, his voice steady. "This is the future of driving. It's not just about cars. It's about the freedom to drive smarter, safer, and more efficiently. Today, we step into the future." The audience erupted in applause. The cars were on the road. The platform was finally a reality. The week after the official launch was nothing short of chaotic. Tesla's new platform had hit the market with a bang. Media outlets across the globe were reporting on the cars, their innovative AI, and the modular design that could change the entire auto industry. Elon had always believed in the power of his ideas, but seeing the world finally react with such enthusiasm was exhilarating. Still, with success came a new set of challenges. The platform's debut had exceeded expectations, but there were unforeseen ripple effects that Elon hadn't fully anticipated. The public wanted more, faster. The media couldn't get enough of the story, and while that was a boon for the company's stock, it also brought a constant barrage of questions, demands, and expectations. It wasn't just the public. Elon was increasingly at odds with Tesla's board. The pressure to ramp up production was immense. The board had already started to inquire about scaling the platform and increasing the number of vehicles being produced. There was also mounting competition. Other automakers, seeing Tesla's success, were already beginning to accelerate their own AI and electric vehicle efforts. If Tesla wasn't careful, they could lose their lead. But Elon wasn't just a creator of tech, he was also a strategist. He knew the game was far from over. He had to stay ahead, push harder, and not let his company get complacent. It was early morning when Sarah called him into a meeting. "Elon," she said as she sat down at the conference table, flipping open her laptop, "we've got some good news and some bad news." Elon raised an eyebrow, leaning back in his chair. "Give me the bad news first." "Production is scaling up, but slowly," she began. "We're running into problems with supply chain logistics again. There's a shortage of high-grade lithium batteries, and the manufacturers we've partnered with can't meet the demand. The delay could set us back at least a month." Elon sighed, running a hand through his hair. This was exactly what he feared. They were so close to truly revolutionizing the car industry, but now this. Still, he had been through worse. "What's the good news?" he asked, bracing himself. "We've been in talks with a new supplier," Sarah continued. "They've got a much faster turnaround time for the battery cells, and we're working on a deal that would allow us to bypass some of the bottlenecks. If we can lock this in, We could be back on track within 2 weeks. Elon nodded, his mind already racing through contingency plans. Time was of the essence, and while 2 weeks was a significant delay, it was still better than a month. Get the contract finalized. Let's move on it. Later that day, Elon visited the Tesla Gigafactory in Nevada to meet with the production team. The massive facility buzzed with activity as workers assembled components, tested batteries, and prepared parts for the new platform. The scale of the operation was staggering, and the sheer ambition behind it all hit him as it always did, like a punch to the gut. Tesla wasn't just building cars, it was building an empire. But as he walked through the factory floor, he couldn't help but notice a few things that made his stomach turn. There were still inefficiencies. Some processes were slower than they should have been. Some machines were outdated and not as efficient as the newer models being used in other industries. Tesla had always prided itself on innovation, but even the most cutting-edge companies needed to evolve. "Elon," said Alex, the plant manager, approaching him with a clipboard. "Everything's running smoothly, but we're hitting some speed bumps with the assembly line. The robotic system for installing the battery packs is glitching again. It's not as precise as we'd like it to be." Elon frowned. "How long will it take to fix it?" "We're working on a software patch right now," Alex replied. "But it's a bit tricky. We may need to re-engineer some of the hardware as well. It'll take a few days at least." Elon was about to respond when his phone buzzed in his pocket. He excused himself and stepped to the side. The message was from Peter. "The board's getting impatient. They want results, and they want them fast. I need you to pull in more resources." Elon shook his head. He didn't need the pressure right now, but that was how this game worked. Investors wanted returns. The board wanted results. And Elon had made so many promises about the future of Tesla. He couldn't afford to fail now. Back in the office, the pressure continued to mount. The media was demanding updates. The board was asking for more resources, and competitors were circling. Elon knew that his next moves would determine whether Tesla could continue to lead the charge or whether they would be overtaken by a competitor. And then, like a thunderclap, came the bombshell. "Elon, you need to see this," Sarah said, bursting into his office, her face pale. Elon looked up from the stack of reports on his desk. "What is it?" "It's the news," she replied, holding up her phone. On the screen was a headline that made his blood run cold. "Rivian's new electric SUV to outperform Tesla's latest model. How close are we to losing the EV race?" The article went on to detail how Rivian, the up-and-coming electric vehicle manufacturer, had unveiled a new model that could outperform Tesla's latest platform in several key areas, including speed, efficiency, and range. It was everything Tesla had worked for, and Rivian was doing it better. Elon felt a knot in his stomach. For a brief moment, doubt crept into his mind. Was it really possible that Tesla could lose its lead? He snapped back to reality. "It's just a headline. We've been through worse. Tesla's AI is better. We're not going to lose to them." But even as he said the words, Elon knew this was different. Rivian wasn't just some new startup. It had the backing of major investors, and the platform they developed had clearly been designed to compete with Tesla's in every way. They were moving faster, pushing harder. Elon's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from the board. "We need answers. Tesla's leadership is on the line." Elon glanced at the message, his mind spinning. The clock was ticking, and the pressure was relentless. If Tesla didn't respond, didn't come up with something to one-up Rivian's new platform, the company's future would be in jeopardy. That night, as Elon lay in bed, the weight of everything pressed down on him. The success of Tesla, the future of the platform, and the long-term viability of electric cars, all of it was on the line. He could already see the headlines turning against him, questioning whether Tesla's dominance was slipping. But he wasn't ready to give up. He never was. The next morning, Elon called a meeting with Sarah, Alex, and the core leadership team. There was no time for pleasantries. "We're not just going to sit back and let Rivian take over," Elon said, his voice sharp with resolve. "We're going to hit back. And we're going to do it in a way no one expects. This isn't just about making a better car. We need to revolutionize the entire way the world thinks about electric vehicles. It's time for us to make our move." Elon stood at the head of the long conference table, staring down at the reports and designs scattered in front of him. The media frenzy surrounding Rivian's new SUV was deafening, but he couldn't afford to get distracted. Tesla had faced challenges before, and each time, they had overcome them. Now, more than ever, Tesla needed to respond with something bold, something that would set them apart, not just as a car company, but as the pioneers of the electric future. He was already thinking of a new direction for the next phase of the platform's evolution. But this time, it wouldn't just be about competing in the car market. It would be about reshaping the entire driving experience. Sarah, Alex, and a few other top engineers were gathered around the table. The atmosphere was tense, the weight of the situation clear in the furrowed brows of everyone in the room. Elon, we've been running the numbers, Sarah said, breaking the silence. If we try to outmatch Rivian on the hardware side, we'll be playing catch-up. We can't afford to just match their performance. We need to leapfrog them. The next step isn't just better specs, it's smarter specs. Elon nodded, his mind already running through the possibilities. You're right. We don't need to just match their speed, range, or technology. We need to redefine what it means to drive electric. Sarah continued, I've been thinking about this. Our AI is already the best, but it needs to do more. What if we could make the car anticipate the driver's needs, rather than just react to them? What if it could learn in real time, adapting to every road, every situation? The next evolution of the platform needs to be more than just autonomous driving. It needs to be a fully integrated, intuitive system that makes the driver feel like the car understands them. Alex leaned in. We're talking about a truly adaptive AI. Something that doesn't just guide the car but evolves alongside the driver. If we can pull that off, we'll have something no one else can touch. Elon felt a spark of excitement flicker in his chest. This wasn't just a new car model. This was something that could change everything. A car that learns from its driver, adapts to their habits, and even anticipates their desires. It was ambitious, but then again, everything Tesla had done so far had been ambitious. Let's do it, Elon said, his voice steady and determined. I want us to start working on this immediately. We'll build an AI that doesn't just drive the car, but owns the experience. I don't care if it takes months. We'll outpace Rivian, outthink them, and we'll do it on our terms. The room erupted into murmurs of agreement. The idea was radical, but it was exactly the kind of bold move Tesla needed. Elon felt the familiar rush of adrenaline that came with pushing the boundaries of possibility. This was why he did what he did, to make the impossible a reality. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Elon personally oversaw the design of the new AI system, working with Sarah, Alex, and the rest of the engineering team. They were pushing the limits of what AI could do, creating an adaptive learning system that would track the driver's behavior, map out their driving patterns, and predict what they needed next. It wasn't just about driving the car. It was about creating a seamless relationship between the driver and the vehicle. Meanwhile, Tesla's marketing team began building a campaign that would highlight the groundbreaking features of the new system. This wasn't just a car. It was a smart car, a car that understood its driver like no vehicle ever had before. By the time Elon was ready to give the board an update, the team had made incredible progress. The prototype AI was already learning basic driving habits, and the system was proving to be highly responsive. They had a working model of the system running on a car, and it was far beyond what Elon had initially imagined. But the board was impatient. Elon, Peter said, his voice edged with frustration during their Zoom meeting, we appreciate the innovation, but we need more immediate results. The competition is breathing down our necks. We can't afford to wait 6 months for a revolution. We need to see the numbers now. Elon's eyes narrowed. Peter, this is the revolution. This new system will blow everything else out of the water. You don't want us to just survive the competition. You want us to define the competition. If we rush this, we'll fail. I'm not willing to take that risk. There was a pause on the other end of the call. The board was clearly under pressure from their investors, and Elon knew they were looking for short-term results. We'll need to be strategic, Elon continued, but I'm telling you, this is the future. Give me 6 months, and I promise you, we'll have a product that will make Rivian's SUV look like a relic from the past. Elon wasn't naive. He knew that 6 months was a long time in the world of high-tech competition. But he also knew that rushing their product would lead to failure. They had to get it right. Tesla had always done things differently, and now more than ever, that was their strength. To meet the board's demands, Elon decided to push for a two-tiered launch. The first would be an updated version of the current platform with incremental improvements to its AI and battery technology. It wouldn't be as revolutionary as the full adaptive system, but it would keep them ahead of the competition in the short term. The second phase, what he called Project Evolve, would be the game changer, the AI system that would define Tesla's future. Weeks turned into months. The first phase of the launch went smoothly, and the new AI features were well received by the public. The cars were smarter, more efficient, and more intuitive than anything Rivian or any other competitor had produced. Tesla's stock price surged again, and for the moment, the media focus shifted back to Tesla's innovation. But Elon knew the battle wasn't over. It was just beginning. In the background, Project Evolve continued to take shape. The AI was learning faster than anticipated, and the prototypes were showing signs of something incredible. Elon and the team were working around the clock, fine-tuning the system, making sure it could handle every aspect of a driver's life, from daily commutes to long road trips, from simple tasks like adjusting the climate to more advanced features like predictive maintenance and traffic pattern optimization. Then came the breakthrough. "Elon, you need to see this," Sarah said one late night, her voice crackling with excitement. She'd been at her desk, working through the final kinks in the AI, when something unexpected happened. Elon rushed to her side. On the screen, the car was behaving in a way they hadn't programmed it to. It was taking an unfamiliar route on the map, adjusting its speed, and navigating traffic like a seasoned driver. But most importantly, it was doing it in real time, adapting not just to the road, but to the driver's preferences, mood, and even health status based on the sensors integrated into the vehicle. "This is it," Sarah said, almost breathlessly. "It's learning faster than we imagined. It's not just anticipating road conditions, it's anticipating the driver's needs." Elon stood still for a moment, taking it all in. The car wasn't just driving itself. It was becoming a partner on the road, an extension of the driver's mind. This was more than AI. It was life-changing. The weeks leading up to the grand unveiling of Tesla's new AI system felt like an eternity. It was the calm before the storm. Behind the scenes, Elon and his team were working feverishly. Every detail had to be perfect. The new AI was revolutionary, but getting it into a production-ready car would be a monumental task. Every sensor, every line of code, every interaction between the car and its driver had to work flawlessly. Elon wasn't worried about the technical side anymore. They had pushed the boundaries, and they were on the verge of something unprecedented. What kept him up at night was the uncertainty of how the world would react. Would it be enough to cement Tesla's place at the forefront of the electric vehicle revolution? Or would this bold new step fall flat in the face of such intense competition? The launch was set for a major event in Silicon Valley, a live demonstration that would be streamed worldwide. The moment had to be perfect. Sarah and Alex were already in the room when Elon arrived that morning, his eyes bleary from lack of sleep. He had barely stepped off a red-eye flight from a meeting in Europe, but the adrenaline coursing through his veins kept him sharp. His mind was clear, focused entirely on the task ahead. "Elon, we're ready," Sarah said, looking at him with a mixture of exhaustion and excitement. "We've run every test we can think of. The AI's responsive, it's intelligent, it's adaptive. I think we're good to go." Elon nodded, his pulse quickening. "Great. This is it. We can't afford to slip up." Alex smiled. "We've got this, Elon. You've seen it. The AI is smarter than any system out there. It's a game changer." Elon took a deep breath, letting it out slowly. The pressure was immense, but he thrived on it. "Let's make history." The moment arrived, and the world was watching. The massive auditorium in Silicon Valley was filled with tech journalists, industry experts, and investors, all eagerly awaiting Tesla's next big announcement. A huge screen behind the stage displayed the Tesla logo, and a countdown clock was ticking down the seconds to the start of the event. When the clock hit 0, the lights dimmed, and a spotlight focused on Elon, who stood in front of the podium. The audience fell silent. "Good evening, everyone," Elon began, his voice steady but filled with the excitement of the moment. "Today, we are going to do more than just unveil a new product. We are going to show you the future of driving. A future where the car is not just a machine, but a companion. One that learns, adapts, and works in harmony with its driver. He paused, letting the words sink in. The crowd was hanging on every syllable. For years, we've been building towards this moment, he continued. And today, we're unveiling not just a new car, but a new era. An era where the line between human and machine is no longer defined by what we do, but by what we become together. This is Tesla's next evolution. The Smart Car 2.0, powered by the world's most advanced AI. The screen behind him flickered to life, showing a sleek, futuristic car rolling smoothly down a highway at night, its lights glowing softly in the dark. The car's interface on the screen demonstrated the new AI's capabilities, adjusting the cabin temperature in real time based on the driver's preferences, predicting the best route based on traffic patterns, and adapting to the driver's mood by adjusting the music and lighting to match. Elon clicked a button on the podium, and a live demo began. The car, parked on stage in front of the audience, began to move on its own. First, it adjusted its seats to fit the driver's height and posture. Then, it shifted into drive, navigating a series of complex maneuvers, from parallel parking to overtaking another vehicle, all without any human intervention. The AI not only guided the car but responded dynamically to its environment, making decisions based on weather conditions, the driver's fatigue levels, and even health data pulled from the driver's smartwatch. It was almost like watching a car that could think for itself. Everything you've just seen, Elon said, his voice rising with excitement, was done with a single goal in mind: to create a car that works for you. No more reactive systems that only work when you tell them to. This is a car that learns from you, that adapts, that anticipates your needs before you even realize them. This is the future of driving. And it's here, today. The audience was silent for a moment. Then, a wave of applause erupted. Backstage, Elon could feel the weight of the moment. The event was a success. The AI was already exceeding expectations. The crowd's reaction had been everything he'd hoped for, and more. The press would be all over this. The headlines tomorrow would talk about the Smart Car 2.0 and how it was revolutionizing not just the automotive industry, but the entire way people interacted with technology. Still, the battle wasn't over. The media would hype this up for a few days. But then what? What would keep Tesla on top? Sarah walked up to him as he was about to leave the stage. Elon, I think we've done it. The reactions are incredible. Rivian's just announced some new features of their own, but nothing like what we've just shown them. Elon smiled, but the tension in his face hadn't quite faded. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning. We've got to make sure the AI is in every car we make. We've got to stay ahead, or someone else will be there to take our place. And I'm not letting that happen. A few days later, the world was still buzzing from Tesla's event. News outlets were flooded with articles, reviews, and think pieces about the new car and its revolutionary AI system. Investors were thrilled, and Tesla's stock price surged to an all-time high. For the moment, Tesla had reclaimed its place as the leader in the electric vehicle market. But Elon knew that the world of tech never stood still for long. Rivian would react, others would follow, and new challenges would come. The real test was yet to come. That night, as Elon sat at his desk in the Tesla headquarters, reviewing the reports on the event's success, he received a call from Peter. Elon, I'll be honest, Peter said, his tone more relaxed than it had been in weeks. The launch was a huge success. The board is impressed, but we're still going to need to deliver on the full vision, the smart, fully adaptive driving experience we've promised. Keep pushing. This is just the beginning. Elon leaned back in his chair. I know, Peter. We're just getting started. He ended the call, staring out the window of his office, the lights of the city twinkling below. There was no time to rest. Not yet. Tesla had taken a giant leap forward, but Elon knew the journey wasn't over. The future was unfolding right in front of him, and he would be ready for whatever came next. The dust had barely settled from the unveiling of Tesla's Smart Car 2.0 when the ripple effect started. What Elon had anticipated became reality. Tesla's bold move wasn't just creating a buzz, it was creating a storm. Headlines across the world were dominated by the announcement. Silicon Valley tech blogs hailed it as a breakthrough moment in the evolution of autonomous driving. Traditional car manufacturers were scrambling to respond. Rivian, already having its moment in the sun, now faced a major threat. And it wasn't just Tesla's new car. It was the concept of intelligence in a vehicle that could outthink anything on the market. Even in the bustling Tesla headquarters, the phone lines were burning up with inquiries from partners, investors, and even new customers who wanted to get their hands on the latest model. But as the world celebrated Tesla's latest innovation, Elon's mind never stopped. This was a win, yes, but it was only the first step in a much bigger game. It wasn't just about winning the headlines. It was about building a new era of smart, sustainable driving that would stand the test of time. A few days after the launch, Elon found himself back in his office, staring at a large map of global markets and strategic targets. The Smart Car 2.0 was already on track to be a hit in North America and Europe, but Tesla needed to expand. The market in China was ripe for expansion, but the competition there was fierce, particularly from local electric car startups like NIO and BYD. Elon knew Tesla's future success hinged on breaking into new markets, but doing so meant navigating a web of regulations, competition, and customer preferences. "Sarah, I need a new plan," Elon said, turning to her with a focused expression. "We've just released the first phase of the Smart Car 2.0, but we need to start thinking about our next steps. The market's going to evolve, and we need to stay ahead of the curve." Sarah, sitting across the desk from him, nodded. "What are you thinking, Elon?" He leaned forward, tapping his fingers on the desk. "We need to get smarter. Not just the cars. Our entire production model needs to be adaptive, just like the AI. The car's intelligence is just the first piece of the puzzle. What we need to build is a global network that integrates Tesla vehicles, energy storage, solar power, and artificial intelligence in a way that no one else can touch." Sarah paused for a moment. "You mean more than just cars? You're talking about an ecosystem?" "Exactly. A Tesla ecosystem. We've already started with our supercharger network, but we need to expand that into an energy infrastructure that's fully autonomous and integrated. Cars that know your energy needs, solar panels that predict your consumption, and batteries that charge when demand is low." Sarah's eyes widened. "You're talking about creating a smart city." Elon smiled, his eyes lighting up. "Not a city, but an ecosystem that's bigger than just the cars. A self-sustaining, autonomous energy system. We've already got the tech for it. Now it's about integration. If we can pull that off, we'll have a system that isn't just reactive, it's predictive. We'll create the first truly autonomous, green, and self-sustaining environment. And it all starts with the car." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of meetings, strategy sessions, and long nights spent in the lab. Elon, Sarah, Alex, and the entire Tesla team were working overtime to build out the first pieces of the ecosystem. They started by enhancing the AI that powered the Smart Car 2.0, making it not just adaptive to the driver, but also connected to Tesla's growing network of energy sources. Tesla's supercharger stations were being upgraded with solar panels, turning them into not just places to charge vehicles, but hubs that could also store and distribute energy. This was part of Elon's larger vision, to create energy that wasn't just clean, but self-sustaining and intelligently managed. At the same time, Tesla's engineers were working on new energy storage solutions that could predict usage patterns and charge cars when energy demand was at its lowest. This would reduce strain on the grid and lower energy costs for Tesla customers. The first test of the expanded ecosystem took place on a small, controlled scale in California. A handful of Tesla owners were selected to participate in the pilot program, where their vehicles, solar systems, and energy storage units were all interconnected through the Tesla app. The AI in their cars learned from their habits, predicting when they would need to charge and optimizing the energy storage based on time-of-day pricing and weather forecasts. The feedback from the test group came in quickly, and the results were overwhelmingly positive. Tesla owners were thrilled by the experience of their vehicles interacting seamlessly with their homes and energy sources. The cars, solar panels, and batteries communicated with each other in real time, creating a kind of intelligent energy dance that optimized everything from vehicle charging to home energy usage. One evening, as Elon watched a live demo of the system in action, he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of satisfaction. This was the vision he'd talked about for so long. an integrated, sustainable ecosystem powered by AI. The technology worked, and it worked well. Tesla was no longer just a car company. It was an energy company, a tech company, and a sustainability company, all in one. But as with all things Tesla, success brought its own set of challenges. Have you seen the new ad from Rivian? Sarah asked one morning as she walked into Elon's office, holding a tablet. Elon glanced up from his desk. What's it about? She showed him the video. Rivian's new campaign was bold and sleek, showcasing their new all-electric SUV navigating treacherous off-road terrain, with shots of adventurers taking it through rugged landscapes. The tagline read, "Adventure Redefined, powered by Rivian." "They're going after our market, Elon," Sarah said. "They're not just competing on price anymore. They're positioning themselves as the adventure brand, going after people who want a vehicle that can do it all." Elon watched the ad in silence. He could feel the pressure mounting. Rivian was playing their cards well. They had their own ecosystem too, electric trucks and SUVs aimed at outdoor enthusiasts and adventure seekers. And with their off-road capabilities, they were offering something Tesla hadn't quite focused on. But Elon wasn't concerned. In fact, he knew exactly how to respond. They're right to target that market. But what they don't realize is that it's not about the car. It's about the experience. We've got the smarter, more connected ecosystem. They're just selling vehicles. Sarah raised an eyebrow. How are we going to counter that? Elon leaned back in his chair. We take the adventure to the next level. We make Tesla the car for the future, not just the car for the weekend warrior. We'll integrate autonomous adventure. The idea came to him one night, while he was reviewing some of the latest advancements in Tesla's AI. He wanted to redefine the adventure vehicle, not just as something that could take you off-road, but as something that could anticipate every challenge you faced on a trip. A Tesla SUV that didn't just drive you to the mountains, but that could navigate every obstacle, whether it was tricky terrain, weather, or even a flat tire. Autonomous adventure. A self-driving off-road experience. The concept was radical, but it was something that no one else could replicate. At least, not yet. The next day, Elon gathered his team. "I have an idea," he said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "We're going to take Rivian's off-road adventure and turn it into the ultimate autonomous experience. A car that drives itself, even on rough, uncharted terrain. It'll be the first self-driving off-road adventure vehicle. We'll redefine what it means to explore." By the time Elon presented the new vision to the board, Tesla was preparing to not just compete with Rivian, but to outclass them in the field of adventure vehicles. Tesla would create a new category entirely. And so began the next chapter in Tesla's evolution. The quest to make every car, no matter its type, an intelligent, self-sustaining, all-encompassing experience. Elon's vision for an autonomous adventure vehicle quickly became the focal point of Tesla's development team. It was more than just a new model. It was the next step in transforming the entire automotive landscape. While competitors like Rivian were focusing on the rugged appeal of adventure vehicles, Tesla's angle was radically different. Elon wasn't interested in making a vehicle that could just go off-road. He wanted to create a car that would drive itself through the wilderness, a vehicle capable of navigating unpredictable terrain, severe weather, and even emergency situations, all with minimal human input. The project was named Tesla Explorer, and it became the most ambitious initiative within Tesla since the release of the Model 3. Unlike other vehicles marketed as adventure-ready, the Tesla Explorer would be designed for autonomous driving in environments that were completely off the grid: forests, deserts, and mountain trails. The vehicle would use the same AI that powered the Smart Car 2.0, but it would be optimized for outdoor conditions, with sensors that could detect everything from loose gravel to the subtleties of a mountain pass. Months passed, and the first prototype of the Tesla Explorer took shape. It looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, sleek, yet robust. The body was reinforced with high-strength alloys, designed to withstand bumps, scratches, and the harshest elements. The suspension system was an innovation in itself, built to adapt to different terrains, making the vehicle as agile on rocky paths as it was on smooth highways. Inside, it had everything a Tesla owner had come to expect: luxury, comfort, and an interface that seemed more like a seamless extension of the driver's thoughts than a car's dashboard. Elon, who had been hands-on with the design, knew this vehicle had to be something entirely different. The Smart Car 2.0's AI could drive on city streets, but it would need significant upgrades to handle unpredictable terrain. The vehicle had to understand the environment, from recognizing the danger of a cliff's edge to detecting mud, water, and other natural obstacles. Sarah and Alex, who had been working closely on this project, were already in the field, testing early models in the California wilderness. One particular test stood out to them. They drove the prototype through the mountainous backroads of Big Sur, a region known for its narrow, winding paths and unpredictable weather. For hours, the car navigated the rough terrain on its own, curving around trees, swerving to avoid boulders, and climbing inclines that would normally require a skilled driver. "Check this out," Sarah said, her voice filled with awe as she watched the car move effortlessly over a rock-strewn path. "It's like the car knows the landscape." Alex chuckled. "It's not just the landscape, it's the AI. The car's learning as it goes. It's adapting, and it's doing it faster than we ever imagined." Back in the lab, the team was working on the software to make sure the Tesla Explorer could not only handle terrain but make decisions that would keep the driver safe and in control. Elon wanted it to be more than just a self-driving car. It had to anticipate the conditions ahead of time and even make decisions that no human driver would be able to in certain situations. It was about blending machine learning with real-world experiences in a way that was unprecedented in the industry. The pressure to deliver was mounting. Tesla's stock had been on a steady rise, fueled by the success of the Smart Car 2.0, but the investors were starting to grow restless. They wanted results. Elon had promised a revolution in autonomous driving, but they needed proof that Tesla could actually pull it off. That was when Elon made the decision to bring the Tesla Explorer prototype to the public. He knew it wasn't fully ready, but he also knew it had to be showcased, even if it was just a demonstration. It wasn't about perfection. It was about getting people to see the vision. The day of the public demonstration arrived. The setting was a sprawling, isolated stretch of desert in Nevada. It was chosen not just for its beauty, but for its unforgiving terrain, which would serve as the perfect testing ground for the Tesla Explorer. The media was already on edge, eagerly awaiting the big reveal. Rivian's latest commercial had garnered significant attention, and now, Tesla needed to show that it wasn't just keeping up, it was leading. The stage was set. A steep, rocky hill, dense patches of scrub, and a narrow dirt path with the kind of sharp turns that would challenge any car. Elon stood with Sarah, Alex, and a few of the top engineers as they prepared the prototype for its test run. A crowd of journalists, investors, and even a few curious outdoor enthusiasts had gathered to watch the spectacle. "Elon," Sarah said, "are you sure about this? The car's only been tested in controlled environments, and even then." "Elon," Alex interrupted with a grin, "there's no better time than now. We've pushed it to the limit, and it's ready for this." The first Tesla Explorer roared to life, its engine purring like a well-tuned machine. Elon stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "this is the Tesla Explorer. What you're about to see is the first of its kind. An autonomous vehicle that can handle the toughest terrain, from desert dunes to rugged mountain trails. And what's more, it's a car that learns as it drives. Today, you're going to see what's possible when AI is not just a tool but an intelligent companion on the road or off it." The crowd's murmurs faded as the Tesla Explorer, driven by no one, began its journey up the rocky incline. The car navigated effortlessly, its sensors guiding it around obstacles with precision. At one point, the car encountered a large boulder blocking its path. Without hesitation, the vehicle shifted gears and repositioned itself to climb over the boulder instead of avoiding it. The crowd gasped in awe. Elon watched from the sidelines, his heart pounding. He had always believed in his vision, but seeing the car do this in real time was nothing short of miraculous. As the Tesla Explorer made its way through a series of obstacles, muddy patches, narrow ravines, and a steep slope, it became clear to everyone watching that Tesla had truly created something remarkable. The car was not only responding to its environment, it was anticipating it. There was no hesitation, no second-guessing. It was as if the car knew what the terrain would throw at it before it even reached it. The final test came when the car navigated a dangerous downhill stretch that dropped off into a deep ravine. The angle was steep, and the terrain unstable. The car slowed, analyzing the conditions, and then, incredibly, it continued to descend at a perfectly controlled speed, safely reaching the bottom. The crowd erupted into applause. Back in the control room, the engineers exchanged looks of disbelief. This was more than they had hoped for. The Tesla Explorer had passed every test with flying colors, and the world had witnessed it. "Elon," Sarah said, walking up to him, "I think we've just redefined what an adventure vehicle can do." Elon nodded, his face lit with excitement. This is just the beginning. The future of travel, of exploration, just got a whole lot smarter. Later that evening, as Elon sat in his office reviewing the media coverage, the numbers were staggering. Tesla had just done what no one else had even imagined. The Tesla Explorer wasn't just an off-road vehicle. It was the foundation of a new type of travel. Autonomous, intelligent, and powered by Tesla's ever-growing ecosystem. But even as Elon allowed himself a moment of satisfaction, he knew the journey wasn't over. There were still hurdles to overcome, technology to refine, markets to conquer, and competitors to outpace. For now, though, the world was watching, and Tesla was leading. Elon sat at the head of the conference table, a vast map of the world spread out in front of him. The Tesla Explorer had stunned the world with its capabilities, and now the task was to take that success and use it to propel Tesla into new markets. But while the fanfare of the demonstration had brought attention, Elon knew the real work was just beginning. To build the future, they needed to scale. And scaling wasn't just about technology. It was about overcoming the challenges of expansion. "Sarah, Alex, we need to discuss how we're going to take the Explorer global," Elon said, tapping the map. "This is the moment. But it's also the moment when the biggest players in the automotive industry will come after us." Sarah nodded, adjusting her glasses. "Right now, we're the disruptor. But the legacy automakers aren't going to sit idly by. Rivian's targeting the adventure crowd, and we're about to step on their toes. But we've got to think beyond just cars. The Tesla ecosystem, energy, autonomous driving, smart cities, this is how we move ahead." Elon leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Exactly. It's not just about making a car. It's about creating an entire infrastructure that connects everything. From charging stations to solar power to AI in our vehicles, we're not just selling products. We're selling a lifestyle. But that means we need to get this into as many hands as possible, fast." Tesla's new strategy was clear: break into new markets and double down on the regions where they were already strong. But the hurdles were steep. Rivian had established a solid foothold in the off-road adventure segment in North America, while competitors like Ford were ramping up production on their own electric models. In Asia, companies like BYD were gaining traction in the electric vehicle market, and the competition was fierce. Elon knew Tesla needed to stay ahead of the curve, but doing so would require more than just great cars. The team began with the basics, understanding the global consumer. While North America and Europe were Tesla's strongholds, they had yet to truly tap into markets like China and India, where the demand for electric vehicles was growing exponentially. But these were also markets where regulations were stricter and local competitors were entrenched. Tesla had already made strides in China, but it needed to ramp up production while simultaneously navigating geopolitical tensions. "There's no time to waste," Elon said, pacing back and forth. "China is key. If we're going to scale the ecosystem globally, we need to solidify our presence there. But the government's going to want incentives, local partnerships, and we have to meet their standards for autonomous driving." Alex, who had been monitoring the Asian markets, spoke up. "We've already got a few factories in China, but we need to expand our distribution network. Plus, we'll need to adjust the Explorer for local preferences. They don't just want electric, they want a model that speaks to their need for luxury, advanced tech, and affordability." Elon nodded, acknowledging the reality. "We'll customize, but the core message stays the same. The Tesla Explorer isn't just a vehicle, it's the future of travel. And that future is autonomous, intelligent, and green." The next few months were a blur of international conferences, regulatory meetings, and partnership negotiations. Tesla's executives were flying around the world, signing deals with local suppliers, navigating bureaucratic red tape, and building relationships with governments. In China, Tesla had to tweak its cars to meet local safety standards while also ensuring that the Explorer's AI could adapt to the unique challenges of Chinese roadways. Meanwhile, back in the US, Rivian wasn't standing still. Their electric trucks were being hailed as the ultimate adventure vehicle, and they were launching an aggressive marketing campaign that painted Tesla as too futuristic for the everyday driver. They were positioning themselves as the rugged, reliable brand for the outdoorsman, while Tesla was trying to sell a vision of an autonomous, integrated world. "Elon, we've got to respond," Sarah said one evening, as they reviewed Rivian's latest ad campaign. "They're starting to carve out a niche as the go-to adventure vehicle, and people are responding. We're not just competing with them. We're competing for the soul of the adventure vehicle market." Elon's face hardened. "Let them have their adventure for now. We're not competing on the same field. While they're busy telling people they can conquer the wilderness, we're building something that will change the wilderness itself." The Tesla Explorer will be a vehicle that doesn't just drive through the outdoors, it transforms it. In the midst of these strategic discussions, Elon received a call that shifted his focus. "Elon, we need to talk," the voice on the other end said. It was his old friend and former colleague, J.B. Straubel, one of the co-founders of Tesla. JB had left the company a few years ago but had stayed in touch with Elon, advising on various technical aspects. Elon hadn't spoken to him in a while, but JB's words piqued his interest. "What's up, JB? I've been following what Tesla's doing with the Explorer, and I think you're onto something big, Elon," JB said. "But there's something you need to be aware of. I've been working on a new kind of battery technology. It's something that could change the entire trajectory of electric vehicles. Imagine a battery that charges faster, lasts longer, and doesn't degrade over time the way current lithium-ion batteries do." Elon's ears perked up. "You're telling me this now? What are we talking about here?" JB paused. "It's a new solid-state battery, and it's ready for testing. If we can get this into the Explorer and the rest of the Tesla lineup, we'll have a massive competitive advantage. It's safer, it's more efficient, and it could accelerate the transition to electric vehicles worldwide." Elon hung up the phone and immediately convened a meeting with Sarah and Alex. "We need to make this happen," he said, his voice brimming with excitement. "JB's onto something huge. Solid-state batteries could be the game-changer we've been waiting for." Alex frowned. "Isn't that still in the prototype stage? How long will it take to integrate that into the Explorer?" "We move fast. We always do," Elon said, a familiar fire in his eyes. "We push for a faster timeline. This could be the breakthrough we need to outpace Rivian and every other competitor." The team was in full-on development mode. They began incorporating JB's solid-state battery technology into the Tesla Explorer prototype, making sure the new batteries met all of Tesla's stringent performance and safety standards. The faster charging time and longer battery life were promising, but there were challenges to overcome in terms of scalability and integration into the vehicle's powertrain. Meanwhile, the launch events in international markets were becoming more intense. In China, the government had promised to fast-track Tesla's approval for the Explorer's autonomous features, but the competition was fierce. BYD had just unveiled a new electric SUV that boasted impressive off-road capabilities, and the media attention was on them. Tesla's engineers worked around the clock, ensuring that the new Explorer models would be ready for market on time, while Elon continued to make his rounds with investors and governments. Elon knew the stakes were high. If Tesla could successfully navigate this expansion, both technologically and geographically, it would secure its position as the leader in the future of transportation. But the competition wasn't waiting for him to catch up. As Tesla prepared to launch the Explorer in multiple countries and scale up production, Elon couldn't help but feel the weight of it all. The future of Tesla, of autonomous travel, and of clean energy was on the line. Every decision, every delay or breakthrough, had the power to shape the company's destiny. The world was watching. Tesla had always been a disruptor in the automotive world, but with the launch of the Tesla Explorer, it was now positioning itself as a pioneer in the entire future of travel. Autonomous off-road vehicles were a novelty, a curiosity, but Elon was making sure they would be the future. Every move Tesla made now felt like it was setting the stage for a monumental shift. But with expansion came growing pains, and the competition was intensifying. The first sign of trouble appeared in the form of a headline: Rivian outpaces Tesla in off-road testing, stuns market with new features. Elon glanced over the article, his eyes scanning the bold claims. Rivian had announced a major update to their electric adventure trucks, with new software capabilities and a rugged off-road package aimed directly at Tesla's Explorer. The press was starting to buzz. "Sarah," Elon said, looking up from his tablet as she walked into his office. "We need to move faster. Rivian's new features could make waves, and we can't afford to be outpaced, not now." "I'm aware," Sarah replied. "We've got the advantage in AI and autonomy, but Rivian's been building its brand as the go-to for adventure vehicles. They're attracting a loyal customer base that's all about the experience." Elon leaned back in his chair, the weight of the situation sinking in. Tesla's vision was about more than just creating another electric vehicle. It was about shaping a new world, one where travel and exploration were seamlessly integrated with technology, sustainability, and safety. The Tesla Explorer wasn't just a car. It was the first step toward a new era of human mobility. "Okay," Elon said, tapping his fingers on the table, "let's take it to the next level. We need to focus on what we do best. Innovation. And not just in terms of cars, let's elevate the whole experience. I want us to make the Explorer more than just a vehicle that drives autonomously. I want it to be the most advanced machine for exploring the unknown." The idea was simple: to integrate Tesla's full ecosystem into the Explorer, turning it into more than just an off-road machine. This would be a platform for adventure. The Tesla Explorer needed to not only navigate rugged terrain with intelligence, but also empower its driver to embark on journeys like never before. Elon envisioned real-time topographical data, live weather updates, advanced satellite communications, and integration with Starlink, Tesla's satellite internet service that could provide internet access in the most remote corners of the Earth. "We need to offer a whole new level of safety and convenience for explorers," Elon said, as Sarah, Alex, and the development team gathered around for the brainstorming session. Imagine a system where the Explorer is constantly in touch with satellite navigation, where it adjusts to the terrain, the weather, the obstacles around it, and gives real-time feedback to the driver. "I want it to be more than just autonomous. I want it to be the ultimate tool for human exploration." The team went to work, integrating cutting-edge technology into the Explorer. They brought on new experts in satellite communications, AI navigation, and geospatial analysis. The result was a revamped version of the Tesla Explorer, now equipped with Tesla Voyager, a system that connected the vehicle not only to Tesla's network of charging stations, but also to Starlink, providing internet access wherever the Explorer roamed. Tesla Voyager was designed to take off-roading to new heights. The AI would automatically adjust the vehicle's speed and suspension based on real-time data from onboard sensors, Starlink satellite maps, and weather forecasts. If a storm was approaching, the system would suggest an alternative route, guiding the driver through a safer path. If the terrain was too dangerous, the car would alert the driver and suggest alternate methods for navigation, making the entire off-road experience safer, more efficient, and entirely connected to the world beyond. Elon watched the developments closely. The Explorer was becoming everything he had imagined, and more. The integration of Starlink was the tipping point. By providing seamless communication between the vehicle and Tesla's global infrastructure, it offered an unmatched level of control, security, and adaptability in the most remote environments. But even as the prototype evolved, Tesla's competition wasn't resting. Rivian had rolled out their updated adventure vehicle with off-road navigation software that integrated with Amazon's cloud services, while Ford was releasing its own electric truck with capabilities designed to rival Tesla's. The fight for the adventure vehicle market was intensifying, and Tesla's leadership was being challenged from all sides. With the new Tesla Explorer Voyager model ready for its public demonstration, the stage was set for a showdown that would determine the future of autonomous off-road vehicles. The location for the reveal was carefully chosen: the Grand Canyon, a place known for its rugged terrain, breathtaking beauty, and a symbol of natural wonder. It was the perfect backdrop for what Elon hoped would be the defining moment for Tesla and the Tesla Explorer. The world's media, investors, and outdoor enthusiasts had been invited to witness the new vehicle in action. But this time, it wouldn't just be a demo of the vehicle's capabilities. Elon had something even more daring in mind. As the crowd gathered, Elon took the stage, his presence commanding attention. The sun was setting over the canyon, casting a golden glow over the entire scene. The air was thick with anticipation. Ladies and gentlemen, Elon began. Today, you're not just witnessing the future of transportation. You're witnessing the future of exploration itself. The Tesla Explorer Voyager isn't just a vehicle. It's the first step in a revolution that connects us to the most remote places on Earth, helps us navigate the unknown, and keeps us connected to the world no matter where we are. The vehicle appeared on the horizon, driving itself through a series of difficult terrains. The Explorer navigated through tight, winding paths that could have easily led a human driver astray. It shifted gears with precision, adjusted its suspension automatically to absorb the rough, rocky trails, and even avoided falling rocks as it traversed the rugged terrain. But then, as it reached the most perilous stretch, where the canyon wall narrowed and a sudden storm began to roll in, the Explorer did something unexpected. It paused, carefully calculating the danger ahead. "Elon," Sarah said, watching the live stream. "It's analyzing the weather conditions. It's stopping because of the storm." Elon's voice rang out through the speakers. The Tesla Explorer Voyager isn't just about getting from point A to point B. It's about making sure that journey is safe, smart, and sustainable. The system uses real-time data to predict and adapt to the environment around it. In this case, we've programmed the Explorer to adjust its route based on the incoming storm. It's a vehicle that doesn't just react, it thinks ahead. The Explorer's display showed an alternate route, a safer path to continue the journey, despite the storm clouds. As the crowd watched in awe, the vehicle's AI seamlessly calculated the safest course through the wilderness, while Starlink kept the vehicle connected to the outside world. The demonstration was a resounding success. Tesla had once again pushed the boundaries of what was possible, and the world was paying attention. But in the back of Elon's mind, he knew that the real challenge was still ahead. Rivian and the legacy automakers weren't done yet. The market for adventure vehicles was heating up, and the competition was only going to get fiercer. Still, for now, Elon allowed himself a moment to savor the victory. The Tesla Explorer Voyager was more than a car. It was a glimpse into a future where exploration was defined not by the challenges of the road, but by the possibilities of the technology that guided you along it. The excitement from the Grand Canyon demonstration hadn't even begun to settle when Elon received a message that instantly turned his focus. A new competitor had emerged, one far more aggressive and capable than anything Tesla had faced before. They were launching a global adventure vehicle initiative, leveraging Amazon's vast logistics network, cloud computing services, and the massive reach of Prime membership to market their own version of the electric off-road truck. Elon couldn't ignore the fact that this wasn't just a typical car company. This was a multi-industry titan with resources Tesla couldn't easily match. Tesla's expansion strategy had always been about more than just selling cars. It was about creating an ecosystem that connected every facet of a person's life. But now, Rivian and Amazon had started to close the gap, blending logistics, outdoor exploration, and the entire Amazon infrastructure into one powerful package. "Sarah, Alex, we need a plan. And we need it now," Elon said, pacing through the sleek design of Tesla's headquarters, his mind racing. They're playing the long game. Rivian's not just selling a car anymore. They're selling an experience that starts with Prime, integrates with Amazon logistics, and taps into everything their customers already trust. Sarah looked at Elon, concern creeping into her voice. They're about to turn the adventure market into a full-service operation. If they connect their vehicles to Prime, they could offer exclusive deals, discounted delivery for outdoor gear, or even home-to-car shipping for outdoor supplies. And they can tap into Prime's massive global customer base for marketing. Alex raised an eyebrow. It's not just a truck. It's an ecosystem of services. They can use Amazon's cloud platform to offer real-time weather updates, advanced navigation features, and enhanced driver safety in remote areas, all tailored for an adventure-first lifestyle. Elon took a deep breath. For all the breakthroughs Tesla had achieved with the Explorer and the Tesla Voyager system, the world wasn't waiting for them to catch up. Rivian's alliance with Amazon wasn't just about the hardware. It was a seamless, integrated experience that customers already knew and trusted. Tesla's Edge, the idea of creating the ultimate autonomous off-road experience, was now in jeopardy of becoming just another option in a rapidly growing market. "I know exactly what we need to do," Elon said, his mind shifting gears. "We're not just in the adventure vehicle business. We're in the future of exploration business. We need to redefine what adventure means. And we need to take Tesla's entire ecosystem beyond just the vehicle. It's time to make Tesla the ultimate platform for exploration." The vision for Tesla Exploration was born that day. Rather than trying to match Rivian and Amazon head-on, Elon decided to push Tesla's advantage in autonomy and clean energy further than ever before. The Tesla Explorer was no longer just a car. It was going to be a hub for a new way to explore the world. The goal was to create the Tesla Exploration Network, a global, integrated platform that connected not just the vehicle, but every element of the travel and exploration experience. From the Tesla Explorer's autonomous off-road driving capabilities, to solar-powered charging stations, to satellite communications with Starlink, to real-time updates on every trail, path, and environment, Tesla would become the one-stop shop for the future of human exploration. But this time, it wasn't just about a vehicle. It was about an entire ecosystem designed to take adventurers, explorers, and dreamers into the unknown and keep them connected to the world, no matter where they went. Tesla would integrate its solar panels into the Explorer to charge on the go, making it a self-sustaining vehicle that could venture farther than any electric vehicle ever had before. For remote locations, the Explorer would connect to Starlink, allowing explorers to communicate with base stations, receive vital weather updates, and even stream critical data on environmental conditions. But the key feature wasn't just the hardware, it was the experience. The Tesla Exploration Network would offer exclusive benefits for members, such as discounts on outdoor gear, access to specialized off-road trails, and real-time collaborative maps of unexplored terrain, all powered by Tesla's AI and Starlink. Tesla would offer a membership program for those who wanted access to this new world, turning the vehicle itself into a launchpad for an entire lifestyle of exploration. Members would gain access to exclusive maps, environmental data, and remote services available only to Tesla Explorer owners. "Let's go beyond the vehicle itself," Elon said to the team. "The Explorer needs to be a way of life. We'll integrate with Tesla Solar, offer exclusive membership benefits, and give owners the tools they need to truly explore the world in ways they've never imagined." The announcement of Tesla Exploration hit the news just days later. It wasn't just a new version of the Explorer. It was the introduction of a brand new category, exploration as a service. Tesla had essentially branded itself as the gateway to the future of human exploration, and it worked. The buzz was enormous. Tesla has just turned adventure into a connected, sustainable experience, one news outlet reported. The Tesla Explorer isn't just a vehicle. It's a portal to the future of exploration. For the next few months, Elon's team worked tirelessly to develop the Tesla Exploration app, a mobile platform that allowed users to plan their adventures, interact with other members, and access real-time data from Tesla's AI-powered infrastructure. The app seamlessly integrated with the vehicle's onboard systems, allowing drivers to create custom off-road routes, receive weather updates, and even check the sustainability of their journeys. The Tesla Exploration Network began to take shape. As part of the membership program, Tesla built out a network of solar-powered charging stations along popular and remote trails, ensuring that adventurers could venture into uncharted territories without worrying about running out of charge. Tesla also unveiled partnerships with key outdoor brands, offering exclusive gear for Tesla Explorer owners who wanted to take their adventures to the next level. But just as the program was gaining momentum, the ultimate test arrived. A massive natural disaster hit the Pacific Northwest: floods, landslides, and unprecedented damage to infrastructure. Roads were washed away, towns were isolated, and rescue teams couldn't reach the most vulnerable communities. Local authorities called for immediate help, and the only way to reach the areas in peril was to use vehicles capable of navigating the treacherous conditions. Elon made a bold decision. He called in Tesla Explorers. Tesla's vehicles, already equipped with autonomous driving systems, AI-powered terrain navigation, and Starlink connectivity, were the perfect solution for this disaster. Tesla Explorers began to assist local authorities in delivering supplies, rescuing trapped residents, and coordinating recovery efforts. With solar-powered charging stations set up in remote areas, the the explorers were able to continue their missions without relying on traditional fuel. As news outlets reported on the heroic efforts of Tesla Explorer owners, who had used their vehicles not just for personal adventure, but for a cause greater than themselves, the reputation of Tesla and Elon Musk's vision for the future solidified. In the aftermath of the disaster, Tesla received global praise for its role in the rescue efforts. But even more importantly, Tesla had proven to the world that their vision for exploration wasn't just about selling vehicles. It was about building an ecosystem that could shape humanity's future. The Tesla Exploration Network had become a symbol of a new era, one where technology, sustainability, and human ingenuity could come together to unlock the next frontier. Elon sat back in his office, reflecting on the journey. The world had changed, and Tesla had helped shape it. But even now, he knew that this was just the beginning. There was still so much more to do, and he was ready for whatever came next. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?